Forget the Renaissance cherubs. You know the ones. Chubby little babies with tiny wings, perched on clouds, playing harps. Cute. Harmless. Completely, utterly wrong. The angels in the Bible are not baby-faced harp players. They are not romantic. They are not even particularly comforting most of the time. The angels in the Bible are strange. They are unsettling. They are the kind of beings that make people fall to the ground in terror, which is why the phrase "do not be afraid" shows up so often when angels appear. Because the default human reaction to an actual biblical angel is not wonder, it is panic. Tonight, we are going to talk about angels, the real ones, the weird ones, the ones that medieval theologians tried to organize into tidy hierarchies because the alternative was admitting that heaven is deeply, profoundly strange. We are going to meet the Seraphim with their 6 wings and their endless chanting. We are going to meet the Cherubim with their 4 faces and their bronze skin. We are going to meet the Ophanim, which are wheels covered in eyes, and we are going to try very hard not to think about how that works. We are going to meet the messengers, the ones who actually look like people and do not immediately cause existential dread. And we are going to meet the destroyers, the wrestlers, and the watchers, the ones who remind us that angels are not always gentle. This is going to take a while, because there are a lot of angels in the Bible, and most of them are weirder than you think. If you find comfort in slow, thoughtful stories that sit with mystery rather than solving it, I would be honored if you subscribed. This is a long journey into some very strange territory, and I think you will find it strangely calming. Now, let's talk about why we got angels so wrong. The problem started with art, specifically with Renaissance art. Raphael, Michelangelo, Botticelli, all the greats. They painted angels as beautiful humans with wings. Sometimes they painted them as babies. Always they painted them as harmless. Think about Raphael's little cherubs at the bottom of the Sistine Madonna. 2 chubby toddlers, resting their chins on their hands, looking bored. They have tiny, decorative wings. They could not actually fly with those wings. They are about as aerodynamically sound as a potato, but they are cute, and that is the point. Or think about Fra Angelico's Annunciation. The angel Gabriel kneeling before Mary, hands crossed over his chest, looking serene and unthreatening. He has 2 wings. They are neatly folded. He looks like a very polite young man in a fancy costume. Nothing about this suggests that Mary would need to be told, "Do not be afraid." And to be fair, this makes sense. If you are trying to decorate a church ceiling, you probably do not want to paint a wheel covered in eyes. That is not uplifting. That is nightmare fuel. So the artists softened the angels. They made them safe. They made them pretty. They made them fit into the aesthetic sensibilities of 15th century Italy. And over the centuries, that became what we think of when we think of angels. But here is the thing. The Bible does not care about 15th century aesthetic sensibilities. But the Bible does not describe cherubs with chubby cheeks. It describes creatures with 4 faces. Human, lion, ox, eagle, all at once, on one head. The Bible does not describe gentle harp music. It describes the sound of wings like rushing water, or like an army on the move. The Bible does not describe angels as comforting. It describes them as terrifying, which is why, over and over again, the first thing an angel says is, "Do not be afraid." Because clearly, people are afraid, very afraid. And honestly, if you saw a 6-winged creature covered in eyes chanting "Holy, holy, holy" in a voice that shook the doorposts, you would be afraid too. So tonight, we are going back to the text. We are going to look at what the Bible actually says about angels. Not what we think it says, not what art has told us it says, what it says. And what it says is weird. Here is what we are going to cover. First, the Seraphim, the burning ones, the six-winged creatures who stand above the throne of God and never stop singing. These are the highest-ranking angels in most theological systems, and they are profoundly strange. Second, the Cherubim, the four-faced guardians. These are the ones Ezekiel saw by the Kebar River, the ones with straight legs, bronze skin, and hands under their wings, the ones who sound like a roaring river when they move. These are also the ones who guard the entrance to Eden with a flaming sword. Same species, very different job description. Third, the Ophanim, the wheels. Wheels within wheels, covered in eyes, moving in perfect sync with the cherubim. We are going to spend some time trying to picture this. It will not go well. Fourth, the middle management. Thrones, dominions, virtues, powers, principalities. The cosmic bureaucracy. This is where medieval theology got very interested in org charts. Fifth, the messengers. Gabriel, Michael, and all the angels, who actually look like people. These are the ones we like. These are the ones who show up and do not immediately cause a panic attack, mostly. Sixth, the destroyers and the wrestlers, the violent ones, the ones who kill armies in a single night, the ones who wrestle prophets until dawn, the ones who stand with drawn swords, blocking paths. These are the angels who remind us that divine mercy and divine judgment sometimes come from the same being. These are uncomfortable. We will handle them carefully, with awe, not horror. Seventh, the Watchers and the Fallen. The 200 angels who came down, married human women, and taught humanity things we were not supposed to know yet. This is where it gets theologically messy. And eighth, the weird miscellany. All the one-off encounters that do not fit neatly into any category. The angel in the burning bush, the angel who fed Elijah, the fourth man in the fiery furnace, and the deeply strange beings in the book of Revelation that may or may not technically be angels, but are definitely angelic adjacent. By the end of this, you will know more about biblical angels than most seminary students. You will also be slightly more unsettled by the whole concept, which is, honestly, the correct response. Because the Bible's angels are not meant to be cute, they are meant to be holy, and holiness, it turns out, is a little frightening. One last thing before we start. This is not a sermon. I am not here to tell you what to believe about angels. I am here to tell you what the text says. And what the text says is strange and beautiful and often contradictory. Sometimes angels look like people. Sometimes they look like cosmic nightmares. Sometimes they are comforting. Sometimes they are terrifying. We are going to sit with that tension. We are going to honor the mystery, and we are going to take our time. Because if there is one thing angels teach us, it is that the divine is not tame. It is not safe. It is not what we expect. And that is exactly what makes it holy. Now, let's meet the Seraphim, the burning ones, the six-winged singers who never ever stop. Let's start at the top. Literally. The Seraphim are the highest-ranking angels in most theological systems. They are the ones who stand closest to the throne of God, and they are deeply, profoundly weird. We know about them primarily from one vision, Isaiah's vision. Isaiah chapter 6. The year is approximately 740 BC. King Uzziah has just died. Uzziah was a good king, mostly. He reigned for 52 years, and now he is gone, and the kingdom is in transition, and Isaiah is in the temple, probably praying, probably worried about what comes next. And then the vision hits. Isaiah sees the Lord, seated on a throne, high and lifted up. The train of his robe fills the temple. Just the robe, not the Lord himself, just the hem of the garment, just the train, the part that drags on the ground behind someone when they walk, and it fills the entire temple. Think about that for a moment. The temple is not small. Solomon's temple was enormous. The main hall, the holy place, was 90 feet long, 30 feet wide, and 45 feet high. Massive cedar beams overhead, stone floors, gold everywhere, and the train of the robe fills it. All of it, edge to edge, floor to ceiling possibly. Just the excess fabric, not the robe itself, not the body wearing the robe, just the train. Now, if the train of a robe fills a space 90 feet by 30 feet by 45 feet, how big is the robe itself? How big is the person wearing it? The math becomes absurd very quickly. If the train is that large, the robe must be several times larger, and the figure wearing the robe must be larger still. We are talking about a being so massive that the temple, this enormous structure of stone and cedar and gold, is too small to contain even the hem of his garment. Isaiah is not seeing God in the temple. He is seeing God through the temple. The temple is like a window, and it is not big enough. Whatever Isaiah is seeing, it is not human-sized. It is not even building-sized. It is cosmic. The seraphim hovering above this throne, above this figure, are part of this impossible scale. And above the throne, there are seraphim. Here is what Isaiah tells us about them. They have 6 wings, not 2. 6. 2 wings cover their faces, 2 wings cover their feet, and 2 wings are for flying. That is it. That is the entire physical description. 6 wings, specific coverage assignments, and they fly. We do not get details about their bodies. We do not get details about their faces, beyond the fact that they cover them. We do not get details about their feet, beyond the fact that they cover those too. Just wings. 6 of them. Let's think about this. 6 wings is a lot of wings. Most birds have 2. 2 is the standard model for flight in the natural world. It works. It is efficient. It is aerodynamically sound. So why 6? And more importantly, how does this even work? Let's start with the 2 that cover the face. These are not for flying. They are for reverence. The seraphim are standing in the direct presence of God, and they cannot look at him. Or perhaps they choose not to. Either way, they cover their faces with their wings, which means these wings have to be large enough to completely obscure their face, and they have to stay in position, which suggests either that the seraphim are holding them there constantly, or that the wings naturally fold that way. Let's assume natural folding, because holding 2 wings over your face for all of eternity sounds exhausting. Now, the 2 that cover their feet. Same logic. These are wings of modesty. In ancient Hebrew culture, feet is sometimes a euphemism for something else. So covering the feet might mean covering the lower body. Either way, it is an act of reverence. A recognition that even angels are not fully presentable in the presence of the divine. So that is 4 wings dedicated to covering things. 2 for the face, 2 for the feet, which leaves 2 wings for actually flying. And here is where it gets interesting, because 2 wings is the normal number for flight. Eagles have 2 wings. Hawks have 2 wings. Even the massive condors and albatrosses have just 2 wings, which means the seraphim do not need the other 4 wings for aerodynamics. They are not backup wings. They are not auxiliary propulsion. They need them for worship. The extra wings are not functional in the flight sense. They are liturgical. They are theological. They exist to express reverence, to cover what should not be seen, to maintain the posture of worship even while hovering. The seraphim are creatures designed for a specific purpose. And that purpose is not efficient flight. It is worshipful flight. Flight that never forgets its place. Now let's talk about the flying. The seraphim do not perch. They do not land. They hover constantly above the throne, which means they are always in motion, always beating their wings, always hovering in place. And if you have ever watched a hummingbird hover, you know this is incredibly energy intensive. Hummingbirds have the highest metabolism of any bird. They have to eat constantly just to stay alive, because hovering burns energy at an astonishing rate. Now, seraphim are not hummingbirds. They are not bound by the laws of metabolism, but the image is the same. Constant motion, constant effort, constant unceasing flight for eternity. That is what it means to be a seraph. You do not rest. You do not land. You hover in the presence of God forever. And while they hover, they chant, "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory." Over and over, without stopping. This is not a song with verses and a bridge and a key change. This is a loop, an endless, eternal loop. One seraph calls to another, back and forth. "Holy, holy, holy, the whole earth is full of his glory. Holy, 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 the whole earth is full of his glory, forever." Now, let's think about the sound of this. Isaiah says that the sound shook the doorposts. The doorposts, these are not decorative trim. These are structural elements. Thick wooden beams, probably cedar, set into stone foundations. Each doorpost would have been at least a foot thick, probably more. Heavy, solid, anchored into the floor and the lintel above. These are not delicate structures. These are load-bearing, and they shook, not swayed, not trembled slightly. Shook, which means the sound is not gentle. It is not a whisper. It is not even a normal speaking voice. It is loud, louder than a shout, louder than a trumpet blast. The kind of loud that you feel in your chest before you hear it. The kind of loud that vibrates the air itself. The kind of loud that makes your ribcage resonate. Think about standing too close to a massive speaker at a concert. That feeling in your chest when the bass hits. That physical pressure. Now imagine that is not music. It is a voice. Or voices plural. And they never stop. That is the sound of the seraphim. Imagine standing in a cathedral while the bells ring. That deep, resonant sound that seems to come from everywhere at once. The way it echoes off the stone walls. The way it builds on itself, layer upon layer. The way your bones seem to vibrate in sympathy. Now imagine the bells never stop. They do not ring and then fall silent. They ring continuously, forever. That is the sound of the seraphim. A low, powerful, continuous drone of worship. Holy, holy, holy. It does not pause. It does not soften. It does not stop for breath, because seraphim do not breathe. They have no need of air. They simply chant, endlessly. And somehow, this is what heaven sounds like. Not harps, not soft choir music, not the gentle hymns we sing in church on Sunday morning. A constant, overwhelming, physically tangible declaration of holiness. The kind of sound that would be unbearable if you were not meant to be there. The kind of sound that Isaiah felt in his bones. The chant is in Hebrew. Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh. Holy, holy, holy. The repetition matters. In Hebrew, repetition is emphasis. If something is good, you say good. If something is very good, you say good, good. If something is the ultimate expression of goodness, you say good, good, good. So holy, holy, holy does not just mean very holy. It means the ultimate holiness. The kind of holiness that cannot be expressed in a single word. The kind of holiness that requires three. And the seraphim never stop saying it. Because holiness is not a quality God has. It is what God is. And recognizing that, declaring that, is the full-time job of the seraphim. Now we get to the part where things get personal. Isaiah is watching this. The seraphim, the throne, the robe filling the temple, the sound shaking the doorposts. And his first thought is not, wow, this is amazing. His first thought is, I am going to die. Woe is me, he says. I am lost, for I am a man of unclean lips, and I live among a people of unclean lips. Yet my eyes have seen the King, the Lord of hosts. This is terror. This is the sudden, visceral realization that he is in the presence of something so holy that his own existence feels like a contamination. He has seen God. And according to the general understanding of the time, you cannot see God and live. So Isaiah is panicking. And then one of the seraphim moves. The seraph flies to the altar. There is a fire on the altar. There is always a fire on the altar in the temple. The seraph takes a coal from the fire, not with his hands, with tongs. Even a seraph does not touch the coal directly, and he flies to Isaiah, and he touches the coal to Isaiah's lips. Let's pause here. A coal from the altar. This is not a warm ember. This is a live coal, active fire, the kind of coal that glows red, then white, the kind of coal that radiates heat before you even touch it, and it is coming toward Isaiah's mouth. Isaiah can probably feel the heat before it arrives, that radiant warmth on his face, getting hotter, getting closer, the way you feel a fire from across a room. Except this is not across a room. This is inches from his mouth, then closer, the heat intensifying. His instinct must be to pull back, to turn away, but he does not, or cannot. And then it touches his lips. Now, we are not told that Isaiah screams. We are not told that he pulls away. We are not told that he faints or cries out or recoils. But let's be honest. A burning coal touching your lips would hurt. It would hurt immediately and intensely. The skin of the lips is thin, thinner than almost anywhere else on the body, more sensitive. There are more nerve endings there than in your fingertips, which is why even a sip of coffee that is too hot makes you wince. Now imagine not a sip of hot coffee, but a live coal, white hot, pressed against your mouth. The pain would be instant, searing, all-consuming, the kind of pain that obliterates thought. And yet, the text does not dwell on the pain. It does not describe Isaiah's suffering. It moves immediately to the result. Your guilt has departed, and your sin is blotted out. The coal purifies. It burns away the unclean lips. It burns away the guilt. It makes Isaiah able to stand in the presence of holiness without being destroyed by it. But the cost is pain. Brief, intense, purifying pain. The kind of pain that changes you. And then it is over. The coal is removed. The seraph returns to his place above the throne. The chanting continues. Holy, holy, holy. And Isaiah is clean, different, marked, ready. Let's talk about the word seraph. In Hebrew, seraph means to burn. It can also mean serpent, specifically a venomous serpent, the kind that causes a burning sensation when it bites you. So a seraph is a burning one, or possibly a fiery serpent. Either way, the connection to fire is clear. These are creatures associated with heat, with burning, with purification, which makes sense given what we have just seen. The seraph takes fire from the altar and uses it to purify the prophet. Burning is what seraphs do. It is in their name. So why are the seraphim the highest rank? Why are they the ones closest to the throne? Here is one theory. They are the highest rank because they do the hardest thing. They look at holiness and do not turn away. Well, technically, they cover their faces, but they stay. They do not flee. They do not hide. They hover in the presence of ultimate holiness and declare it forever. That is the job. No breaks, no shifts, no relief, just constant, unending presence and praise. And it is not a comfortable job. It is not a safe job. Holiness is dangerous. It is consuming. It is like standing too close to the sun. The heat is real. The light is blinding. The sheer magnitude of it could destroy you if you are not constantly, actively participating in it. So the seraphim chant, "Holy, holy, holy." They chant because silence, in the presence of that much holiness, would be unbearable. They chant because worship is the only appropriate response to what they are witnessing. They chant because the alternative is being overwhelmed, consumed, annihilated by proximity to something so vastly greater than themselves. The chant is not optional. It is survival. And they never stop. One last thing about the seraphim. We do not know how many there are. Isaiah says seraphim, plural, but he does not give a number. Are there 2, 6, 100? We do not know. Medieval theologians loved to speculate about this. Some said there were only a few seraphim, because proximity to God is so intense that only a few could withstand it. Others said there were countless seraphim, because the praise of God requires an infinite chorus. The text does not tell us. It just tells us they are there, above the throne, hovering, chanting, burning. The seraphim are not comforting. They are not cute. They are not the angels you pray to when you need help finding your car keys. They are the angels of the throne room, the angels of holiness, the angels who remind us that the divine is not tame. It is not safe. It is not human-scaled. It is vast and strange and consuming. And the appropriate response is not comfort. It is awe, trembling, reverent awe. Now, let's meet the cherubim, who are somehow even weirder. Now we move from the throne room to the riverbank, from Isaiah to Ezekiel, from the highest-ranking angels to the, well, also very high-ranking angels, but slightly more mobile. The cherubim. If you thought the seraphim were strange, buckle up, because the cherubim are where things get genuinely bizarre. The year is approximately 593 BC. Ezekiel is in exile. Babylon has conquered Jerusalem. The temple has been destroyed. The people of Judah have been marched hundreds of miles east and settled in Babylonian territory. Ezekiel is among them. He is a priest, or he was a priest back when there was a temple to serve in. Now he is just another exile, living in a settlement by the Kebar River, which is not really a river, it is a canal. One of the massive irrigation canals that crisscross the Babylonian plain. But canal does not sound as poetic, so the text calls it a river. Ezekiel is 30 years old, which is significant. 30 is the age when a priest would begin his service in the temple, except there is no temple anymore. So Ezekiel is by the canal, probably wondering what happens to a priest without a temple. And then the vision hits. He sees a stormy wind coming from the north, a great cloud, fire flashing back and forth within it, and a brightness around it. This is not a gentle, peaceful vision. This is a storm, the kind of storm that makes you want to find shelter. Dark clouds, lightning, the wind picking up, bending the reeds by the canal, the air smelling like rain, like electricity. And then, in the center of the fire, something gleaming, something that looks like gleaming metal. Amber, the text says, or electrum, a mixture of gold and silver, glowing. And then Ezekiel sees the cherubim, 4 living creatures. That is what he calls them at first. He does not use the word cherubim until later. At first, they are just creatures, 4 of them, and they have a human form, mostly. Each one has 4 faces and 4 wings. and their legs are straight, and their feet are like the feet of a calf, but they sparkle like burnished bronze. Let's start with the faces. 4 faces per cherub, 1 human face, 1 lion face, 1 ox face, 1 eagle face, all on the same head. Picture this. Actually, try to picture this. Not 4 heads. 1 head with 4 faces, facing 4 different directions. The human face in front, the lion face on the right, the ox face on the left, the eagle face in back. How does this work? How do you fit 4 faces onto 1 head? Does the head have 4 sides, like a pyramid? 4 flat planes meeting at angles? Are the faces flat against each side? Or is the head rounded, with the faces somehow blending into each other at the edges? Where does the human face end and the lion face begin? Is there a seam, a ridge, or do they flow into each other? Does the human ear transition into the lion's mane? Does the ox's horn emerge from where a human temple would be? The text does not say. It just says 4 faces, and you are left to imagine the geometry. And the geometry does not work. Not in any way that makes sense. But that is the point, perhaps. These are not creatures bound by normal geometry. They exist in a space where 4 faces on 1 head is possible. Somehow. Now think about the expressions. Can each face have a different expression? Can the human face look sad while the lion face looks fierce? Can the ox face look patient while the eagle face looks alert? Or do all 4 faces reflect the same emotions simultaneously? 4 different faces, 1 emotional state. The text does not tell us, but imagine the effect. If you stand in front of the cherub, you see a human face. If you stand to the right, you see a lion. If you stand to the left, an ox. If you somehow manage to stand behind it, an eagle. The cherub presents a different face depending on where you stand, but it is always watching you because it has a face pointed in your direction. Always. Now think about what each face represents. The human face. Intelligence, reason, dominion. Humans are the pinnacle of creation made in God's image. We think, we speak, we rule. The lion face. Strength, kingship, nobility. The lion is the king of beasts. Majestic, powerful, dangerous. The ox face. Service, labor, sacrifice. The ox is the workhorse of ancient agriculture. Patient, strong, essential. Also, the primary sacrificial animal in the temple. The ox gives its life. The eagle face, speed, vision, transcendence. The eagle soars above all other birds. It sees from a great height. It is not bound to the earth. So each cherub embodies the best of all creation. The intelligence of humanity, the strength of wild beasts, the service of domesticated animals, the freedom of birds, all in one being, all at once, a living summary of everything God has made, but also 4 faces on 1 head, which is deeply, profoundly unsettling. Because the human mind wants symmetry. We want faces to make sense. 1 head, 1 face. That is the rule. And the cherubim break the rule completely. Now the wings. 4 wings per cherub. 2 wings spread out above. These are the ones that touch the wings of the other cherubim. We will get to that in a moment. 2 wings cover the body. Modesty again. The same principle as the seraphim covering their feet. Even cherubim do not parade themselves uncovered in the presence of holiness. But here is the thing about the wings. They do not just spread out randomly. They touch each other. 1 cherub's wing touches the wing of the cherub next to it. All 4 cherubim are connected by their wings. Imagine this. 4 beings standing in a square formation, each one facing outward. Human face forward, lion face to the right, ox face to the left, eagle face to the back, and their wings are stretched out, touching. So if the cherubim move, they have to move together, perfectly synchronized, because their wings are touching. If one moves forward, the others have to move with it, or the wings would tear. This is not independent flight. This is formation flight, choreographed, coordinated, locked together. And Ezekiel says they move like lightning, fast, precise, without hesitation. 4 creatures moving as one, their wings beating in perfect unison. Not a single wing out of sync, not a single stumble. Think about what this requires. If you have ever watched a flight of birds, you know they move together, but not perfectly. There is always a slight lag, a slight drift. But the cherubim do not drift. They move as if they are one organism. 4 heads, 4 sets of wings, one movement. The synchronization is absolute and eerie. Now let's talk about their legs. Straight legs, not bent, not jointed like human legs, straight, like pillars. And their feet are like calves' feet. Hooves, probably, cloven hooves, like an ox. And these feet sparkle, like burnished bronze. Now, what does burnished bronze actually look like? Let's think about this carefully. Bronze is an alloy, copper and tin. Copper makes up most of it, which gives bronze its characteristic color. The color is not quite gold, not quite brown, not copper red either. It is somewhere in between all of these, a warm reddish gold with hints of orange. In certain light, it can look almost pink. In other light, it looks more brown, but always warm. Never cold like silver, never yellow bright like pure gold. When it is freshly polished, it gleams, shiny, reflective. Not mirror reflective, but close. You can see shapes in it, movement, light bouncing off the surface. The shine is not even. Bronze has a grain, a texture. Even when polished smooth, there is a subtle variation in the surface, tiny imperfections, microscopic valleys and peaks, which means the reflection is not perfect. It is slightly diffused, slightly softened, like looking into water that is almost still, but not quite. But bronze does not stay shiny. It tarnishes. Copper oxidizes. First the shine dulls, then it turns brownish. Then, if left long enough, it turns green. That green patina you see on old bronze statues, that is tarnish, oxidation, the slow transformation of copper into copper oxide. Burnished bronze is bronze that has been polished, rubbed with oil or wax or fine sand, the tarnish scraped away, the surface restored, made to shine again. So when Ezekiel says their feet sparkle like burnished bronze, he means they glow. They have been polished, maintained. They do not tarnish. They do not dull. They are perpetually bright, a warm metallic glow, reddish gold, reflective, catching the light with every movement, like the feet are made of polished metal, not covered in bronze, not bronze plated, made of it. The skin itself is bronze. The substance of their bodies is metal, and it gleams. Now imagine walking on feet like that. Cloven hooves made of gleaming bronze. Every step would catch the light. Every shift of weight would send reflections dancing. The ground beneath them would light up briefly with each footfall, a flash of reddish gold against the earth. And if the sun is shining, or if there is fire nearby, the effect would be amplified. The bronze would pick up the light and throw it back, multiplied, intensified. The cherubim do not walk quietly, not aurally because of the wing sound, but also not visually. Visually, they announce themselves. With every step they shine, with every movement they reflect. They are impossible to ignore, which is perhaps the point. These are not subtle beings. These are not angels who blend into the background. These are angels who command attention, who demand to be seen, because they bear the presence of God. And the presence of God is not subtle. It does not hide. It shines. And under their wings, on their four sides, they have human hands. Hands. Not claws, not talons. Human hands. But under the wings, on their four sides. So each cherub has four hands. One under each wing. The text is not entirely clear. But human hands. 5 fingers. Opposable thumbs. Hands that can grasp. Hands that can hold. Hands that can wield a sword. Which is important, because we will get to the sword in a moment. But first, think about the placement. Hands under wings, hidden, not visible unless the wings are raised. Why hide the hands? Perhaps because hands are too human, too relatable. The cherubim are supposed to be other, alien, strange, but they have human hands, which suggests they can interact with the physical world. They can touch things, move things, hold things. They are not purely spiritual. They have bodies. Bodies that are strange, yes, but bodies nonetheless. And those bodies can act. Now the sound. Ezekiel says the sound of their wings is like the roar of rushing waters, like the voice of the Almighty, like the tumult of an army. Let's sit with the first image, the roar of rushing waters. If you have ever stood next to a waterfall, you know this sound. It is not a gentle babbling brook. It is not the pleasant trickle of a fountain. It is a roar, a constant, overwhelming roar. White noise made physical. Let's think about what this actually sounds like. First, there is the bass note, the deep rumble. The sound of massive volumes of water hitting other massive volumes of water, or hitting rock, or hitting the riverbed below. This is a low frequency. You feel it more than hear it. It resonates in your chest, in your stomach, in your bones. Then, layered on top of that, there is the rush, the hiss, the sound of water moving at high speed, turbulent, chaotic. 1,000,000 tiny collisions happening every second. Water molecules smashing into air molecules, creating friction, creating noise. This is a higher frequency. It fills your ears, it fills your head. And then, on top of that, there are the individual splashes, the crashes, the impacts, random, unpredictable, louder than the bass roar for a split second, then gone. Swallowed back into the general chaos. All of these sounds together create the roar. And it is constant. It does not pause. It does not stop for breath. Because water does not breathe. It just falls. And falls. And falls. The sound is so loud, so pervasive, that you cannot hear anything else. Not conversation. Someone could be standing next to you, shouting in your ear, and you would not hear them. Not birdsong, not your own footsteps, not the wind, not your own thoughts, just the water, crashing, thundering, filling the air with sound, filling your head with sound, and you feel it, not just in your ears, in your chest. The low frequencies travel through the air and into your body. Your ribcage vibrates slightly, your diaphragm, your lungs, in your bones. The vibrations travel through the ground and up through your feet, into your legs, your spine. You are not just hearing the water, you are experiencing it with your entire body. Your whole nervous system is registering this sound. That is the sound of the cherubim's wings, not a gentle flutter, not the soft whoosh of a bird taking flight. A roar, constant, overwhelming. The kind of sound that drowns out everything else. The kind of sound that makes thought difficult. Because your brain is too busy processing the sheer volume of auditory input to do anything else. Now imagine standing close to that sound. Not 100 feet away from a waterfall. Not standing on an observation platform with a railing. Right next to it. Close enough to feel the spray on your face. close enough to feel the air move, close enough that the sound is not just loud, it is oppressive. It presses on you, it surrounds you, it fills every available space. There is no quiet corner to retreat to. There is no moment of silence, just sound, everywhere, all the time. The sound would be almost painful, not quite, but close. Your ears would start to hurt after a while. That dull ache deep inside the ear canal, the pressure. Your head would feel stuffed with cotton, thick, heavy. Your ears would ring afterward, for hours, maybe days. That high-pitched whine that tinnitus sufferers know well, but in the moment, you would just be filled with the sound, consumed by it, unable to think about anything else, unable to form coherent thoughts, just standing there, vibrating, overwhelmed. That is what Ezekiel hears when the cherubim move. That is the sound of their wings, the roar of rushing waters, the voice of the Almighty. And then, when they stop, the sound stops. They let down their wings, and there is silence. Sudden, shocking silence. The kind of silence that feels loud after that much noise. Your ears are still ringing. Your body is still vibrating, or feels like it is. But the external sound is gone, and the absence is almost as overwhelming as the presence was. You become aware of small sounds again, your own breathing, the wind, the rustle of fabric, things you could not hear before, and they sound impossibly loud because your ears have been recalibrated. They have been set to process waterfall volume sound, and now they are trying to process whisper volume sound. Everything is amplified until gradually your hearing adjusts, returns to normal, and the silence is just silence again. That is the experience of the cherubim's movement, not just visual, not just conceptual, physical, auditory, visceral, the kind of thing that leaves you shaken, changed. You do not casually encounter cherubim and walk away unaffected. You encounter them and you remember for the rest of your life. Now, the question no one wants to ask: how do you turn when you have four faces? The text says, the cherubim do not turn when they move. They go straight ahead. Wherever they face, they go, which makes sense in a way. If you have four faces, facing four directions, you do not need to turn. You are always facing every direction. But think about this practically. If you want to go forward, you move forward. Your human face is already facing that direction. But what if you want to go to the right? Do you turn your body? No, because the text says they do not turn. They just go. So if you want to go right, you just go right. Your lion face is already facing that direction. You are always oriented toward wherever you need to go. You never turn your back on anything because you do not have a back. You have four fronts. This is profoundly strange. Humans are directional. We have a front and a back. We have to turn to see behind us. We have a blind spot. Cherubim do not. They see in all directions simultaneously. They can move in any direction without reorienting. They are omnidirectional, which is unsettling, because it means you can never sneak up on a cherub. They are always facing you, always watching, no matter where you stand. Now let's talk about Ezekiel's description of their appearance. He says they sparkle, like burnished bronze, yes, but also the whole vision has a quality of gleaming, of glowing. He describes fire moving back and forth between the cherubim, darting fire, lightning flashing from the fire, and the cherubim themselves moving like lightning, darting back and forth. The whole scene is alive with light and movement. Nothing is still. The storm, the fire, the creatures, the lightning. Everything is in motion. Everything is glowing. This is not a calm, peaceful vision. This is dynamic, energetic, almost chaotic, but also controlled. choreographed. The cherubim move like lightning, but they move together. The fire darts, but it darts between them, not randomly. There is order in the chaos, pattern in the motion, and through it all, that sound, the roar of rushing waters, the tumult of an army. Ezekiel is being shown something enormous, something powerful, something that does not sit still. The throne of God in this vision is mobile. It goes where it needs to go, and the cherubim are its transportation, its wheels. Wait, wheels. We will get to the wheels in the next chapter. Now, here is where things get complicated. Ezekiel's cherubim are not the only cherubim in the Bible. There are also the cherubim in Genesis and the cherubim on the Ark of the Covenant, and they are different. Let's start with Genesis. After Adam and Eve are expelled from the Garden of Eden, God places cherubim at the entrance, east of Eden, to guard the way to the tree of life. These cherubim have a flaming sword, a sword that turns every direction. They are not there to welcome people back. They are there to keep people out. They are bouncers, heavenly security, and they have a weapon. Now, this makes sense if cherubim have hands. Human hands, under their wings, hands that can hold a sword. But the image is still jarring. Angels with swords standing guard, not angels of mercy. Angels of enforcement. The garden is closed. The cherubim make sure it stays closed, and the flaming sword turns every direction, which suggests perhaps that the cherubim themselves turn every direction, or do not need to turn, because they already face every direction. 4 faces, remember. So the cherubim at Eden are guardians, protectors of the sacred, enforcers of boundaries. This is a different role than the cherubim in Ezekiel's vision, but perhaps not a contradictory role. The cherubim in Ezekiel are bearing the throne of God. They are the mobility of divine presence. The cherubim in Genesis are guarding the holiest place. They are the immobility of divine prohibition. Same species, different assignments. Now, the Ark of the Covenant. The Ark is a wooden chest, covered in gold. Inside it, the tablets of the 10 Commandments, and on top of it, the mercy seat, a slab of gold, and on the mercy seat, 2 cherubim, also gold, facing each other, their wings spread out above, overshadowing the mercy seat. These cherubim are not alive. They are statues, decorative, symbolic. They do not have 4 faces. They have 1 face, presumably human, or at least humanish. They do not sparkle like bronze. They are gold, smooth, polished, beautiful. These are the domesticated version of cherubim, the safe version, the version you can put in a tabernacle without terrifying everyone who walks in, because no one wants to worship in front of a 4-faced, bronze-skinned, lightning-fast creature making a sound like a waterfall. That is not conducive to prayer. So the cherubim on the ark are simplified, tamed, made into art. They are a representation of cherubim, a symbol of cherubim, not the real thing. The real thing is what Ezekiel saw. The real thing is strange. So how do we reconcile these different descriptions? Ezekiel's 4-faced, bronze-skinned, wing-roaring cherubim, Genesis's sword-wielding guardians, Exodus's golden statues. Here is one possibility. All of these are true. Cherubim are multifaceted. Literally, they appear differently in different contexts. Or perhaps they have different forms for different tasks. Transportation mode, 4 faces, synchronized wings, lightning speed. Guardian mode, stationed, armed, immovable. Symbolic mode, simplified, beautified, made bearable for human eyes. Or perhaps the descriptions are simply limited by human language. Ezekiel is trying to describe something he has no words for, so he uses the words he has. 4 faces, bronze, wings like water. But maybe the reality is stranger still. Maybe cherubim do not have a fixed form. Maybe they are more like living fire, living light, taking shape as needed, appearing to Ezekiel as 4-faced creatures, because that is what Ezekiel's mind can process, appearing to Moses as golden statues, because that is what the people need to see. We do not know. The text does not tell us. It just tells us that cherubim are powerful, strange, guardians of the holy, bearers of the throne, and whatever their true form is, it is not safe, it is not comfortable, it is not meant to be. One more thing about the cherubim: they are never alone. In Ezekiel's vision, there are 4 of them, moving together. At Eden, the text uses the plural, cherubim, multiple guardians. On the ark, there are 2, facing each other. Cherubim work in groups. They do not operate solo. Perhaps because their wings touch. Perhaps because their task is too large for one. Or perhaps because holiness requires witnesses. Plural. Multiple beings, all testifying to the same truth. This is sacred. Do not approach carelessly. Do not presume access. The cherubim are here, and they are watching in all directions, always. The cherubim are not comforting. They are not the angels you pray to when you need a parking space. They are the angels of boundaries, the angels of thresholds. They stand between the holy and the common, between the divine and the human, and they do not let you cross without authorization. They bear the throne. They guard the garden. They overshadow the mercy seat. Always, they mark the presence of God, and they remind you, this is not safe, this is not tame, this is holy. Approach with reverence, or do not approach at all. Now, let's talk about the wheels, because apparently, the cherubim are not strange enough. They need wheels, wheels covered in eyes. Now we get to the part where Ezekiel's vision becomes genuinely incomprehensible. The wheels, the Ophanim. If the cherubim are strange, the Ophanim are stranger. If the cherubim are unsettling, the Ophanim are nightmare fuel, but in a slow, meditative, put-you-to-sleep kind of way, hopefully. Ezekiel sees wheels beside the cherubim, 1 wheel beside each cherub, 4 wheels total. And these are not normal wheels. These are wheels within wheels. Let's start with that phrase, a wheel within a wheel. What does this even mean? A wheel inside another wheel, like a wheel hub inside a tire? No, because Ezekiel says the wheels intersect. They are set at right angles to each other. So imagine a wheel, a circular rim. Now imagine another wheel, the same size, passing through the center of the first wheel, at a 90-degree angle, like 2 hula hoops intersecting, one running north-south, one running east-west. They share the same center point, but they are perpendicular to each other. Now imagine trying to roll this. You cannot. Or rather, you can roll it in any direction, because no matter which way you push, one of the wheels is oriented correctly. If you push north, the north-south wheel rolls. If you push east, the east-west wheel rolls. The wheel does not need to turn. It is always facing the right direction, just like the cherubim with their 4 faces. This is omnidirectional movement, perfect mobility, no turning required, but also geometrically impossible, or at least geometrically very strange. How do 2 solid wheels occupy the same space? They must pass through each other somehow. Or perhaps they are not solid. Perhaps they are translucent, which brings us to the color. Ezekiel says the wheels gleam like beryl. Beryl is a gemstone, a mineral, specifically beryllium aluminum silicate, which is a very technical way of saying a semi-precious stone that comes in various colors. But what matters is the color Ezekiel saw. the ancient Near Eastern beryl, which is yellowish green, not bright yellow like a dandelion, not bright green like emerald, somewhere in between, pale, delicate, like new leaves in spring, that tender, fresh green that has not yet darkened, or like a green apple, Granny Smith, but paler, less acidic looking, or like the colour of shallow seawater on a sunny day, that pale aqua green with yellow undertones. It is a colour that suggests growth, life, spring, but also, strangely, coldness, that watery quality, the colour of ice with algae frozen in it, beautiful but not warm, and most importantly, beryl is translucent. Light passes through it, not completely transparent like glass or crystal, but translucent, semi-opaque. You can see through it, but not clearly. Shapes are blurred, softened. Light is diffused. When light hits beryl, it does not just bounce off. It enters the stone. It travels through the internal structure, refracting off tiny imperfections, splitting into slightly different wavelengths, and then it exits, transformed. The stone seems to glow from within, not like a light bulb, more like a gentle luminescence. When you hold beryl up to the light, it catches the light and holds it for just a moment. The light moves through the stone, bouncing off internal structures, refracting, splitting. So the stone does not just reflect light like metal does. It transforms light, softens it, colors it, makes it green gold. Now imagine a wheel made of this, or a wheel that looks like this, yellowish green, translucent, glowing, light passing through it. The rim is not opaque. You can almost see through it. Almost, but not quite. And as the wheel moves, the light moves with it, flowing, shifting, changing. The glow pulses and changes as the wheel turns, or does not turn, because the wheel within a wheel does not need to turn. But as it moves, the light moves, and the whole thing shimmers, like water catching sunlight, like liquid light, contained in the shape of a wheel. This is not a wooden wheel with iron bands. This is not a chariot wheel built by human hands. This is something else entirely, something gemstone, something crystalline, something living, something that looks like it was grown, not built, like it formed naturally, the way minerals form in caves, layer by layer, over time, except it is a wheel, and it moves, and it is full of eyes, and the rims of the wheels are full of eyes, all the way around. Let's sit with this for a moment. Eyes, not decorations, not jewels. Eyes. Ezekiel says they are full of eyes, which suggests a lot of eyes, not just a few, not evenly spaced, full, packed, covering the entire rim, all the way around, no gaps. Imagine the rim of a wheel, a circular band, maybe a foot wide, maybe more. Now imagine eyes covering every available surface. Small eyes, probably. Otherwise, they would not fit. But eyes nonetheless, with pupils, with irises, maybe with eyelids, or maybe just open, always open, watching. How many eyes would this be? Dozens, hundreds. If the wheel is large and the eyes are small, it could be thousands, thousands of eyes, all on one wheel. And there are 4 wheels, so 4 times thousands of eyes, all watching, in every direction, simultaneously. Now think about what this looks like. Eyes are not uniform. They are not smooth. They have depth, a pupil that recedes into the iris, an iris that catches light differently depending on the angle. The white of the eye, which is never perfectly white, always slightly bloodshot, always slightly off-white. And eyes are wet. They have a film of moisture, a glaze. They reflect light. Each eye catches the light slightly differently, depending on its angle, depending on how the moisture catches the light. So a rim covered in eyes would not be a smooth surface. It would be textured, bumpy, irregular. Each eye a small protrusion, a small depression, and it would shimmer, not just from the beryl glow, but from the eyes themselves. Thousands of tiny reflections, thousands of tiny glints, like light on water, but more disturbing, because these are not water droplets. These are eyes, all moving as the wheel moves, or as the eyes move. Do the eyes move? Do they blink? Do they track? Or are they fixed in place, staring straight ahead? The text does not say, but the implication is that they see. They are not decorative eyes, they are functional eyes, which means they watch, they observe, they perceive everything all at once, because there are eyes on every part of the rim, top, bottom, sides, front, back, inside, outside, no blind spots, no angle of approach that is not observed. You cannot sneak up on an Ophan. You cannot hide from an Ophan. No matter where you stand, there are eyes pointed at you, watching, always watching. And the wheels move in perfect sync with the cherubim. When the cherubim move, the wheels move. When the cherubim stop, the wheels stop. The cherubim do not pull the wheels. There are no traces, no harness. The wheels simply move. Wherever the cherubim go, the wheels go. Perfectly coordinated, no lag, no delay, instantaneous synchronization. Ezekiel says, wherever the Spirit would go, they would go. The Spirit, not the cherubim's will, not a command. The Spirit, some animating force, some intention, that moves through both the cherubim and the wheels, simultaneously. The wheels are not being pushed. They are not being pulled. They are participating. They are part of the movement, part of the whole. The cherubim and the wheels move as one organism. 4 cherubim, 4 wheels, 1 movement, 1 purpose, 1 direction, wherever the Spirit would go. This is not mechanical movement. This is spiritual movement, or perhaps movement that does not distinguish between the mechanical and the spiritual. The wheels go where they are supposed to go, and they know where that is, without being told. Ezekiel says the wheels are tall. Awesome height, he says, which is a strange thing to say about a wheel. Wheels are usually wide, not tall, but these wheels are tall, taller than a person, certainly, taller than a building, perhaps. Awesome height, not just tall, awesomely tall, intimidatingly tall, the kind of tall that makes you feel small. If you stand next to one of these wheels, you have to crane your neck to see the top of it. The rim curves up and up and up, higher than you can comfortably look. And remember, there are eyes all the way up. So as you look up, trying to see the top, you are passing hundreds of eyes, thousands of eyes, all looking back at you. This is not a comfortable experience. This is a visceral reminder that you are being observed, completely, thoroughly, from every angle, by something much, much larger than you. Now, the theological question: are the Ophanim angels? Or are they vehicles? Are they living beings? Or are they angelic transportation? The text is not clear. Ezekiel calls them wheels, which suggests objects, things. But he also says they have spirit, they have life, they move with intention. Later Jewish mysticism treats the Ophanim as a class of angels, the thrones perhaps, living beings whose purpose is to bear the divine throne. They are not cherubim. They are their own category, but they work with the cherubim. They move with the cherubim. They are part of the same vision, the same manifestation, so perhaps they are both. Angels and vehicles, living beings whose form is wheels, whose purpose is mobility, whose bodies are transportation. This would not be the strangest thing in Scripture. The cherubim have bodies that are both biological and metallic. Bronze skin, remember. So why not wheels that are alive? Wheels that see. Wheels that respond to the Spirit. The line between being and function is blurry here. The Ophanim are what they do. And what they do is move, carry, bear the throne, go wherever the Spirit directs, while watching, always watching, with thousands of eyes. One more thing about the eyes: the seeing in all directions, the constant observation. This is not just practical, this is theological. The Ophanim, with their eyes covering every surface, are a physical representation of omniscience. They see everything, from every angle, at every moment. There is no hidden place, no secret corner. Everything is visible to the Ophanim. Everything is known. This is terrifying, not because the Ophanim are malicious, but because being fully seen is uncomfortable. We hide things. We keep parts of ourselves private. We present different faces to different people. But the Ophanim do not allow for that. They see all faces, all sides, all angles, simultaneously. You cannot curate your image for the Ophanim. You cannot control what they see. They see everything, and they do not look away. The Ophanim are not angels of comfort. They are not angels of mercy. They are angels of transportation and observation. They go where the throne goes. They see what needs to be seen. They do not explain. They do not comfort. They do not speak as far as we know. They just move and watch and glow with that strange, translucent beryl green light. And somehow, this is holy. This is part of the divine machinery. Wheels within wheels, eyes beyond counting, moving in perfect sync with creatures that have 4 faces and bronze skin. All of it together, bearing the throne of God, mobile, omnidirectional, all-seeing, impossible, and yet, according to Ezekiel, real, or at least as real as visions get. Now, let's talk about the angels we have actually heard of, the ones with names, the ones who show up in paintings without causing nightmares, the middle management of heaven. Now we leave the realm of direct biblical description and enter the realm of theological speculation, which is, let's be honest, where most of our angel information comes from. The Seraphim and Cherubim and Ophanim appear in specific visions. Isaiah saw them. Ezekiel saw them. We have eyewitness testimony. Strange eyewitness testimony, but testimony nonetheless. The rest of the angelic hierarchy. That is educated guesswork, organized speculation, an attempt to make sense of scattered references across multiple books, and it is fascinating. Let's start with Paul. Paul mentions angels a few times in his letters, not in detail, just in passing, as if everyone already knows what he is talking about. In Ephesians, he writes about rulers and authorities in the heavenly places. In Colossians, he mentions thrones, dominions, rulers, and authorities. These are not detailed descriptions. These are categories, labels. Paul is listing types of spiritual beings, and he seems to assume his readers know what these categories mean, which suggests there was already, in the first century, some kind of understanding about angelic ranks, some hierarchy, some organization. We do not know what that first century understanding was exactly. Paul does not explain. He just lists the terms and moves on. Thrones, dominions, rulers, authorities, powers, principalities. These words suggest structure, order, a chain of command. But Paul does not tell us what each rank does. He does not tell us how they are organized. He just acknowledges that they exist and that Christ is above them all. That is his main point, not the angels themselves, but Christ's supremacy over them. Still, the words are there, and later theologians would build entire systems around them. Enter Pseudo-Dionysius, a theologian writing in the late 5th or early 6th century. We call him Pseudo-Dionysius because he wrote under a pseudonym. He claimed to be Dionysius the Areopagite, a 1st century convert of Paul. He was not, but his writings were influential anyway, especially his work on angels. Pseudo-Dionysius took Paul's scattered references and organized them. He created a hierarchy, a structure, 9 choirs of angels arranged in 3 tiers. This system became the standard in medieval theology. Dante used it, Aquinas used it, artists used it, and it is still the system most people think of when they think about angelic ranks. Here is how it works. The first sphere, the angels closest to God, the highest ranking, the holiest. These are the Seraphim, Cherubim, and thrones. The Seraphim we have already met. 6 wings, eternal chanting, stationed around the throne. The Cherubim, also covered. 4 faces, bronze skin, guardian duties. The thrones are new, or rather, the category is new. The beings might not be. Pseudo-Dionysius describes the thrones as living symbols of God's justice. They are the seat of divine authority, the throne, personified. Some scholars think the thrones are the Ophanim, those wheels covered in eyes. That would make sense. The Ophanim bear the throne in Ezekiel's vision. They are the physical support structure, the mobility. So perhaps thrones is just another name for the same beings. Or perhaps the thrones are something else entirely. The text is not clear. What is clear is that thrones, whatever they are, represent God's judgment, His authority, His right to rule. They are not messengers. They are not warriors. They are the foundation, the base upon which divine rule rests. Unmoving, immovable, constant. The second sphere, the middle management. These are the dominions, virtues, and powers. The dominions regulate angelic duties. They are the administrators, the ones who assign tasks to the lower ranks. You go to earth and deliver this message. You guard this city. You stand here and do not move. The dominions make sure everything runs smoothly, that the angelic host operates in an orderly fashion. No chaos, no confusion. Everyone has a job. Everyone does their job. The dominions make sure of it. They are essentially middle managers, overseeing operations, coordinating efforts, making sure the will of the higher ranks is carried out by the lower ranks. Not glamorous, but essential. Every organization needs administrators, even heaven. The virtues are different. They perform miracles, or rather, they are the angelic force behind miracles. When the laws of nature are suspended, the virtues are involved. When water turns to wine, a virtue is there. When the sun stands still, a virtue makes it happen. The virtues are the angels of divine intervention. They bridge the gap between the natural and the supernatural. They make the impossible possible. But they do not do this on their own initiative. They are not rogue miracle workers. They act under orders. When God decides to intervene, the virtues carry out the intervention. They are the hands that perform the work, the force that bends reality, quietly, efficiently, without fanfare. The virtue does not appear and announce itself. It simply acts. The miracle happens, and the virtue returns to its post. Job done. The powers are warriors. These are the angels who fight against evil. Spiritual warfare, Paul calls it. The battle against the rulers of the darkness of this age. The powers are on the front lines. They stand between humanity and the forces of chaos. They are not gentle. They are not comforting. They are soldiers, armed, vigilant, ready. When demons attack, the powers respond. When evil encroaches, the powers push back. They maintain the boundary. They hold the line. This is exhausting work. Constant vigilance, constant readiness, constant conflict. The powers do not rest. They cannot rest, because evil does not rest. So the powers stand guard, always, protecting, defending, fighting. The third sphere, the angels closest to humanity. These are the principalities, archangels, and angels. The principalities are the guardian angels of nations. Each nation, according to this system, has an angelic overseer, a principality assigned to watch over it, to guide it, to protect it, but also, apparently, to advocate for it. Because the principalities are not neutral. They care about their assigned nation. They want it to flourish. Now let's think about what this actually means. What does it mean for an angel to guard a nation? A nation is not a person. You cannot stand next to it with a sword. A nation is an idea, a collection of people, a culture, a government, a territory, all of these things together. So how does an angel guard that? Perhaps the principality influences leaders, whispers wisdom to kings, plants ideas in the minds of generals, guides lawmakers toward just laws, not controlling them, not overriding their free will, but nudging, suggesting, opening doors, creating opportunities. Or perhaps the principality protects borders, not physically, but spiritually, keeping out malicious spiritual forces, standing guard at the boundaries, making sure that demons and other hostile entities do not gain a foothold. Or perhaps the principality shapes culture, preserves what is good in the national character, encourages virtues, discourages vices, works slowly over generations to guide the nation toward righteousness, or perhaps all of these things, and more. The role of a principality is vast, complicated. It requires understanding politics, culture, history, economics. It requires long-term thinking, patience, because nations do not change quickly. A principality cannot swoop in and fix everything overnight. It has to work within the constraints of human free will, human stubbornness, human short-sightedness. It has to guide without controlling, protect without smothering, advocate without manipulating. This is subtle work, the kind of work that goes unnoticed. Because when a principality does its job well, things just work. The nation prospers, peace is maintained, justice is served, and no one knows an angel was involved. But when a principality fails, or is opposed, or is overwhelmed, the nation suffers. Wars break out, injustice flourishes, corruption spreads, and people wonder why God has abandoned them, not realizing that God has not abandoned them, but their principality is locked in combat with opposing forces, spiritual forces, forces represented by the principalities of other nations, or by demons, or by the accumulated evil of human choices over generations. This creates an interesting dynamic. If every nation has a principality, and the principalities care about their nations, what happens when nations go to war? Do the principalities go to war too, in the heavenly realms? The book of Daniel suggests yes. In Daniel 10, an angel tells Daniel about being delayed by the prince of Persia, a spiritual being opposing him, until Michael, one of the chief princes, came to help. The prince of Persia is, presumably, the principality assigned to Persia. And he does not want Israel's prayers answered, because Israel and Persia are in conflict. So the angelic representatives are also in conflict. This is deeply strange and deeply political. It suggests that nations are not just human constructs. They have spiritual reality, spiritual backing, and their spiritual representatives are engaged in the same struggles as the earthly nations themselves, locked in combat or negotiation or uneasy truces, mirroring the conflicts below, or perhaps causing the conflicts below. The text does not make clear which direction the influence flows. Does earthly conflict create heavenly conflict? Or does heavenly conflict create earthly conflict? Probably both. Probably a feedback loop. The nations fight, so the principalities fight. The principalities fight, so the nations fight. Around and around, until something breaks the cycle. An intervention from a higher rank. An archangel stepping in, like Michael did in Daniel. Or a change of heart among humans. A decision for peace, which gives the principalities room to negotiate, to stand down, to redirect their energies toward building rather than fighting. This is cosmic politics, and it is messy, complicated, morally ambiguous, because if your nation has a principality, and that principality is fighting against another nation's principality, which side is right? Both principalities think they are serving God. Both principalities think they are protecting their people, but they are in conflict. So who is right? The text does not answer this. It just acknowledges that the conflict exists in both realms at once. The archangels are the heavy hitters. The named angels, Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, maybe Uriel, depending on which tradition you follow. These are the angels with specific, high-importance tasks. Michael is the warrior, the commander of the heavenly armies, the one who fights Satan in Revelation. Gabriel is the messenger, the one who delivers the most important announcements, the fall of kingdoms to Daniel, the coming of the Messiah to Mary. Raphael, in the book of Tobit, is the healer, the guide, the one who helps Tobias on his journey and heals his father's blindness. Archangels are not administrators. They are specialists, highly skilled, highly trusted, sent on missions that require precision and authority. When God needs something done right, he sends an archangel. And finally, angels, just angels, the base rank, the foot soldiers, the messengers, the ones who appear to shepherds and announce good news, the ones who minister to Jesus in the wilderness, the ones who roll away the stone from the tomb. Angels do the day-to-day work, the unglamorous tasks, the small interventions. They are not less important than the higher ranks. They are just more numerous and more involved in human affairs. An angel appears to Joseph in a dream. An angel strengthens Jesus in Gethsemane. An angel frees Peter from prison. These are not cosmic, earth-shattering events. They are personal, individual, quiet. And that is the work of angels. The regular ones, the ones without fancy titles, they show up when needed. They do what needs doing, and then they leave. So that is the system. 9 choirs, 3 spheres, 1 hierarchy, Seraphim and Cherubim and thrones at the top, dominions and virtues and powers in the middle, principalities and archangels and angels at the bottom. It is neat. It is organized. It is very medieval. And it is, to be honest, mostly made up, not entirely. The categories come from Scripture. Paul mentions thrones and dominions and powers. Daniel mentions princes and archangels. The Gospels mention angels. So the raw material is biblical. But the organization is human. Pseudo-Dionysius took the scattered references and turned them into a system, a hierarchy, a org chart. And medieval theologians loved it, because medieval society was obsessed with hierarchy. Kings, lords, knights, peasants. Everyone had a rank. Everyone had a place. Of course, heaven would work the same way. Of course, angels would be organized into tiers. It made sense to them. It reflected the world they knew. So they elaborated. They debated. How many angels in each rank? What exactly does a dominion do? Can an angel be promoted? These questions mattered to them, because understanding the heavenly hierarchy meant understanding how the universe worked. And understanding how the universe worked meant understanding your place in it. But here is the thing. The Bible does not care about org charts. The Bible mentions different types of angels, yes, but it does not explain how they relate to each other. It does not rank them. It does not assign them specific job descriptions. Paul mentions thrones and powers because he is making a point about Christ's authority, not because he wants to explain angelic bureaucracy. Daniel mentions the Prince of Persia because he is explaining why his prayer took so long to be answered, not because he wants to give us a detailed breakdown of how principalities operate. The biblical writers are not interested in the mechanics of heaven. They are interested in God's interaction with humanity. And angels are part of that interaction, but they are not the focus. God is the focus. So the 9-choir system, it is one way of organizing the information, a medieval way, a European way, a way that made sense to people who already thought in terms of hierarchies and feudal systems. But it is not the only way. Other traditions have different systems. Jewish mysticism has its own angelic hierarchies. Islamic tradition has its own categories, and none of them perfectly align, because they are all attempts to systematize something that resists systematization. Angels are not bureaucrats. They are messengers, warriors, guardians, worshippers. They serve God's purposes, and God's purposes are not always organized in ways that make sense to us. Sometimes an angel appears to a single shepherd. Sometimes an army of angels appears to announce the Messiah. There is no obvious rhyme or reason to who gets sent where, or at least not one we can discern. So the hierarchies are helpful as a framework, as a way of thinking about different types of angels, but they are not definitive. They are not doctrine. They are theology, human theology, an attempt to make sense of the divine, which is a noble effort, but ultimately a limited one. Because the divine does not fit neatly into categories, it overflows them constantly. Still, there is something comforting about the hierarchies, the idea that heaven is organized, that there is order, that even in the spiritual realm, there are roles and responsibilities and chains of command. It suggests that the universe is not chaotic. It is structured, purposeful, even if we do not fully understand the structure. And maybe that is why the medieval theologians spent so much time on it, not because they thought they could fully comprehend heaven, but because attempting to comprehend it was itself an act of worship, an acknowledgement that there is order beyond our perception, purpose beyond our understanding, and beings whose existence and function far exceed our ability to categorize. But we try anyway, because that is what humans do. We organize, we categorize, we make charts, even of things we have never seen, even of angels. Now, let's talk about the angels we have actually met, the ones with names, the ones who show up in the stories and do things we can actually describe. Finally, angels we can actually relate to, angels who do not have 4 faces, angels who do not make a sound like a waterfall when they move, angels who look more or less like people, with some notable exceptions, but basically people. These are the messengers, the ones who show up in the actual stories, the ones with names, Gabriel and Michael, and all the unnamed angels who deliver news, free prisoners, and occasionally get mistaken for regular humans. These are the angels we like, because they are comprehensible. They have a human scale. They speak in sentences. They do not require you to process geometric impossibilities just to look at them. They are still terrifying, apparently, but in a manageable way. Let's start with Gabriel. Gabriel is the messenger angel, the one God sends when the message is really, really important. Gabriel shows up 4 times in the Bible, and every time He's delivering news that will change history. First appearance, Daniel 8. Daniel has a vision, a disturbing vision involving a ram and a goat and a lot of symbolic violence. He does not understand it. And then Gabriel appears. Gabriel, not an angel, named, specific. Gabriel explains the vision to Daniel, and Daniel faints, overcome. Gabriel has to touch him to revive him. Second appearance, Daniel 9. Daniel is praying, confessing the sins of Israel, asking for mercy, and Gabriel shows up, flying. The man Gabriel, whom I had seen in the vision at the first, came to me in swift flight, flying fast, urgent. He has another message, another prophecy, the 70 weeks, the timeline of Israel's restoration. Again, world-altering information, and again, delivered by Gabriel. Third appearance, Luke 1, first half. Zechariah is in the temple, burning incense. It is his turn to enter the holy place, a once-in-a-lifetime honor. And there, standing at the right side of the altar, is an angel. Zechariah is terrified, of course, and the angel says, "Do not be afraid." Of course. Then the angel delivers his message. Your wife Elizabeth will have a son. You will name him John. He will be great in the sight of the Lord. Zechariah does not believe him. He asks for a sign, and the angel says, I am Gabriel, who stands in the presence of God. Let's pause on that line. I am Gabriel, who stands in the presence of God. This is not humble. This is a flex. Gabriel is reminding Zechariah who he is talking to. I am not just any angel. I am Gabriel. I stand in the presence of God. I have been sent to speak to you, and you are questioning me. Zechariah is struck mute, a sign as requested. He will not speak again until the child is born, because you do not doubt Gabriel. Fourth appearance, Luke 1, second half, 6 months later. Mary is in Nazareth, going about her day, and Gabriel appears. Greetings, favored one. Mary is perplexed, troubled. What kind of greeting is this? Gabriel says, do not be afraid. Again. Then he delivers the message. You will conceive and bear a son. You will name him Jesus. He will be great. He will be called the Son of the Most High. His kingdom will have no end. Mary asks a practical question. How? I am a virgin. And Gabriel explains, the Holy Spirit will come upon you. The power of the Most High will overshadow you. Therefore the child will be holy. He will be called the Son of God. Mary accepts this. Let it be. And Gabriel leaves. Now let's look at the pattern. Gabriel shows up at significant moments. Moments when God is about to do something new, something unprecedented. Gabriel explains visions to Daniel, visions about the future of kingdoms. Gabriel announces the birth of John the Baptist, the forerunner, the one who will prepare the way. Gabriel announces the birth of Jesus, the Messiah, the entire point of the story. Gabriel is not sent for small things. He is sent for turning points, hinge moments, when history is about to change direction. Also, Gabriel tends to show up in the evening. To Daniel, he comes at the time of the evening sacrifice. To Zechariah, he appears while Zechariah is burning incense, which happens in the evening. To Mary, the time of day is not specified, but tradition places the Annunciation at dusk. Why evening? Maybe because evening is a liminal time. Not day, not night. In between. A threshold. And Gabriel is a threshold figure, standing between the human and the divine, delivering messages that will change everything. So he appears at the threshold hour, when the light is fading, when shadows are long, when the world is quiet, waiting. Now Michael. Michael is different. Michael is a warrior, the commander of the heavenly armies, the defender. First mention, Daniel 10. The same chapter, where we learn about the Prince of Persia. Michael is called one of the chief princes. He comes to help the angel who is speaking to Daniel, because the Prince of Persia has been blocking the way. Michael intervenes, Michael fights, Michael clears the path. Later, the angel says Michael is your prince, the Prince of Israel, the principality assigned to protect God's people. So Michael is both a warrior and a guardian. He fights on behalf of Israel. Second mention, Jude 9. This is a strange one. Jude mentions a dispute between Michael and the devil about the body of Moses. Michael and the devil are arguing over Moses' corpse. The devil wants it, apparently. Michael does not let him have it, but Michael does not rail against the devil. He does not curse him. He simply says, "The Lord rebuke you." This is restraint. This is discipline. Even in conflict, Michael does not overstep. He defers to God's authority. He does not act on his own power. He acts as God's agent. This is important because Michael is powerful, very powerful, but he does not use that power independently. He submits to authority. Third mention, Revelation 12. War breaks out in heaven. Michael and his angels fight against the dragon and his angels. The dragon is identified as Satan, the ancient serpent, the deceiver, and Michael defeats him. The dragon is thrown down to earth. Along with his angels, they lose their place in heaven. This is the ultimate warrior moment. Michael leading an army, casting down the enemy, victorious, definitive. So Michael is the warrior angel, the fighter, the defender, the one you want on your side when things get violent. Now, the do not be afraid pattern. Almost every time an angel appears to someone, the first thing they say is, "Do not be afraid." Gabriel says it to Zechariah. Gabriel says it to Mary. The angel at the tomb says it to the women. The angels who announced Jesus' birth say it to the shepherds. Why? Because the default human reaction to an angel is fear, terror even, which tells us something about what angels look like. They are not cute, they are not comforting, they are frightening. Even the humanoid ones, even Gabriel and Michael and the unnamed messengers, they are frightening enough that they have to open with reassurance. Do not be afraid. I am not here to hurt you. I am here to deliver a message. So what is it about angels that causes this reaction? Let's think about their appearance. The humanoid angels are described as wearing white robes, shining, glowing. Their faces shine, sometimes like lightning. At the tomb, the angel is described as having an appearance like lightning, his clothing white as snow. At the Transfiguration, Jesus' clothes become dazzling white, whiter than anyone could bleach them. And Moses and Elijah appear with him, also shining. The pattern is consistent. Heavenly beings glow, they shine. They are bright, not like a lamp, not a steady electric light, more like radiance, like they are made of light, or like light is coming from inside them, through them. Now think about what this looks like. You are in a dark room, or outside at night. Your eyes are adjusted to the darkness. You can see shapes, shadows, the faint outlines of things. And suddenly, there is a figure, a person-shaped figure, standing where no one was standing before. But it is glowing, not reflecting light from some external source, not catching the moonlight or the lamplight, producing light from within. The glow is soft but pervasive. It does not hurt to look at, the way looking at a light bulb hurts, but it fills the space. It pushes back the darkness, not aggressively, not like flipping a switch, but steadily, inevitably. The darkness retreats from the figure. A sphere of light surrounds it, gentle, warm, but also strange. Because the light does not behave the way normal light behaves. Normal light has a source, a point of origin, a bulb, a flame, a star, and the light radiates out from that source, growing dimmer the farther you get from the center. But the angel's light does not have a center. The whole figure glows evenly. Every part of the angel is equally luminous. The face, the hands, the robes, all producing light, all radiating. So the light does not come from one point. It comes from everywhere at once. This is disorienting. Your brain is trying to make sense of it, trying to find the light source. But there is no light source. There is only the angel and the light, which are somehow the same thing. The glow is not white exactly, or rather, it is white, but not the white you are used to. It is a white that seems alive, a white that shifts very subtly as you watch. Hints of gold, hints of silver, hints of pale blue, depending on the angle, depending on how the angel moves. The light is not static. It pulses very gently, like breathing, like a heartbeat. The glow brightens very slightly, then dims very slightly, rhythmic, alive, and the quality of the light is different from anything you have seen. It is not harsh. It does not create deep shadows. It is not the bright, flat light of midday. It is not the warm, flickering light of fire. It is somewhere in between, soft but penetrating, gentle but revealing. The light seems to illuminate everything around it without casting shadows, or rather, the shadows are very faint, diffused, as if the light is coming from multiple directions at once, which in a sense it is, because the angel itself is the light source, and the angel has dimension, volume. So the light emanates from the front of the angel and the back of the angel and the sides, all at once. This is not how light is supposed to work, but that is what you see. The figure's face is visible, but not in the normal way. You can see that it is a face. You can see eyes, a nose, a mouth, but you cannot see details. You cannot see pores or wrinkles or the exact shape of the nose. The features are smoothed, simplified, as if they are carved from light. You cannot see the texture of the skin, because the skin is glowing. The light fills in all the tiny shadows that make a face look real. The hollow under the cheekbone, the shadow beside the nose, the crease of the eyelid, all filled with light. So the face looks perfect, too perfect, unnaturally smooth, beautiful perhaps, but also alien, because human faces are not supposed to glow. Human faces have shadows, they have texture, they have imperfections, but this face has none of those things. It is all light, which makes it hard to read, hard to interpret. Is the angel smiling, frowning, concerned, angry? You cannot tell. The expression is lost in the radiance. The features are there, but the emotion is obscured. This is part of what makes angels frightening. You cannot read them. You cannot predict what they will do, because you cannot see the normal human cues, the slight tightening around the eyes, the tension in the jaw, the quirk of the mouth. All of that is gone, erased by light. So you are standing in front of a being that looks like a person, but does not read like a person. And your instinct says, danger, be afraid. And the robes, white. But what kind of white? Not the white of bleached linen, which is slightly off-white, slightly grey, with visible threads, with texture you can feel. Not the white of snow, which is cold and crystalline, sharp, reflective in a hard way. Not the white of paper, which is flat and matte, dead, without depth. This is a white that glows, a white that has dimension, a white that seems to contain all colors, like light through a prism. If you look closely, you might see hints of other colors, blue, just a whisper of it, around the edges, in the folds. Gold, warm, subtle, where the fabric catches the light, except the fabric is the light, so it is catching itself. Silver, cool, fleeting, in the shadows, except there are no shadows, so it appears and disappears, shifting, subtle, but mostly just white. Bright, clean, radiant white. The white of pure light. Not reflected light, not ambient light, source light. The fabric does not wrinkle like normal fabric. Linen wrinkles, wool creases, cotton crumples. But this fabric stays smooth, perfect, even when the angel moves. And it does not hang heavy. Fabric has weight. It pulls down, it bunches, it catches on things. But this fabric flows. It moves as if it is weightless, as if it is not quite material, not quite physical, as if it exists in some space between solid and not solid. The angel moves, and the robes follow. Perfectly. No delay, no resistance, no tangling, no catching. Just smooth, flowing movement, like water, but not wet. Like air, but visible. Like silk, but not silk. Like something that has no earthly equivalent. The robes do not billow the way normal robes billow. They do not snap in the wind. They do not settle heavily when the angel stops moving. They just flow, constantly, gently, as if they are responding to a breeze that no one else can feel, or as if they are part of the angel itself, not clothing, but an extension of its being, an emanation. This is unsettling, because nothing in normal human experience looks like this. We do not glow. Our clothes do not flow like liquid light. Our faces do not erase shadows simply by existing. So when you see an angel, even a humanoid one, your brain struggles. It knows this is a person-shaped thing. 2 arms, 2 legs, 1 head. The right proportions, the right configuration. But it also knows this is not a person. Something is wrong. Or rather, something is too right, too perfect, too bright, too clean, too smooth. And that wrongness, that otherness, triggers fear. Your body says, danger, run. Your mind says, this is not natural, this is not safe, this is not what people look like. And the angel has to say, do not be afraid, because otherwise you would not hear the message. You would be too busy panicking, too busy trying to reconcile what you are seeing with what you know about the world, too busy processing the impossibility of a glowing person in flowing robes made of light. So the angel speaks first. Do not be afraid. I am here with a message. Listen. But sometimes angels do not glow. Sometimes they look fully human. Hebrews 13:2 says, do not neglect to show hospitality to strangers, for by doing so some have entertained angels without knowing it. Angels without knowing it, which means the angels looked like regular people. No glow, no white robes, no radiance, just travelers, strangers, ordinary. This is what happened to Abraham. Genesis 18. 3 men appear at his tent. Abraham greets them, offers them water, offers them food. They accept, they eat, they rest in the shade. Abraham treats them like honored guests, like any travelers he might meet. And then they start speaking prophecy. They tell Abraham that Sarah will have a son. Sarah, who is inside the tent, laughs because she is 90 years old. And the visitors hear her laugh, and they question her doubt. And Abraham realizes these are not ordinary travelers. These are angels, or possibly the Lord himself, accompanied by 2 angels. The text is ambiguous, but the point is the same. They looked human. They ate human food. They rested like humans rest. And Abraham did not know. Not at first. The recognition came later, after the conversation, after the prophecy. There was a moment of realization. Oh, these are not men. What gave it away? The text does not say. But something shifted. Something in the air, something in their eyes, something in the way they spoke. And Abraham knew. The same thing happens at Jesus' tomb. The women arrive. The stone is rolled away. They enter the tomb. And there is a young man, sitting on the right side, dressed in a white robe. And they are alarmed. Why alarmed if he just looks like a young man? Because he is sitting in a tomb, where a dead body should be, and he is dressed in white, and there is something about him, something that makes them afraid. He says, "Do not be alarmed." He tells them Jesus has risen. He tells them to go and tell the disciples, and they flee, trembling, amazed. They knew. Somehow they knew this was not a regular young man. In Matthew's version, the angel's appearance is more dramatic, like lightning, clothes white as snow. The guards at the tomb are so afraid, they shake and become like dead men. They faint. In Luke's version, 2 men in dazzling clothes appear. The women are terrified. They bow their faces to the ground. Different gospels, slightly different details, but the same pattern. Angels appear. People are afraid. The angels say, "Do not be afraid," or "Do not be alarmed." The message is delivered. The angels leave. And then there is Peter. Acts 12. Peter is in prison, bound with chains, sleeping between 2 soldiers, and an angel appears. A light shines in the cell. The angel strikes Peter on the side, wakes him up. The chains fall off. The angel says, "Get up quickly." Peter obeys, still half asleep probably. The angel says, "Wrap your cloak around you and follow me." Peter follows. They pass the first guard, the second guard. They come to the iron gate leading to the city. It opens by itself. They walk through, down the street, and then the angel leaves, just vanishes. And Peter realizes, this was real. This actually happened. Up until that moment, he thought he was dreaming or having a vision, because the whole thing was so surreal. An angel in his cell, chains falling off, guards not noticing, a gate opening by itself. This does not feel like real life, but it was. And Peter is free, confused but free. This is what angels do. They show up. They do impossible things, casually. Walls do not stop them. Chains do not stop them. Guards do not stop them. They simply act, and then they leave. No drama, no fanfare, just the job, done. These are the angels we like, because they are understandable. They have a human shape. They speak human language. They deliver messages we can comprehend. They do not require us to process 4 faces or wheels covered in eyes. They are still frightening, yes. They still glow and wear robes that defy physics. They still make people faint and flee, but they are manageable. They are the angels we can imagine encountering, the angels who might show up at our door, looking like travelers, or glowing like lightning. But either way, recognizable. Either way, bearable. These are the angels of the stories we tell, the angels of Christmas and Easter, the angels who free prisoners and announce births, the angels who say, "Do not be afraid," and mean it, who deliver their messages and leave, who do their jobs without making a fuss, who serve God by serving humanity, quietly, efficiently, without needing to be worshipped themselves. Just messengers, just servants, just angels. And that is enough. Now, let's talk about the angels who are not gentle, the destroyers, the wrestlers, the ones who remind us that mercy and judgment often come from the same source. Not all angels are messengers. Not all angels deliver good news. Some angels are sent to destroy, to stop, to punish, to enforce boundaries. These are the angels of judgment, the ones who remind us that divine mercy has limits, that patience eventually ends, that there are consequences. These stories are uncomfortable. because they show us angels acting as instruments of death, but they are part of the picture, part of the fullness of what angels are and what they do. Let's start with the Passover. Exodus 12, the 10th plague, the final plague, the one that breaks Pharaoh's resistance. God tells Moses, "At midnight, every firstborn in Egypt will die, from Pharaoh's son to the prisoner's son to the firstborn of the livestock, every firstborn, except in the houses marked with blood on the doorposts. Those houses the destroyer will pass over, the destroyer, not God will strike them down, not God will kill them. The destroyer, an agent, a force." Later tradition identifies this destroyer as an angel, the angel of death, sent to Egypt with a specific task, to move through the land, to take every firstborn, to spare none except those marked. Now, how does this work? How does an angel kill? The text does not say. There is no description of violence, no swords, no blood, no struggle, just silence. And then, at midnight, it happens, all at once, or perhaps sequentially, house by house, but so fast it seems simultaneous. The angel moves through Egypt, invisible, unstoppable, and in every unmarked house the firstborn dies, quietly, in their sleep perhaps, or perhaps awake, but too quickly to cry out. The text does not dwell on the method, it dwells on the result. In the morning, there is not a house in Egypt without someone dead, not one. The wailing begins. The realization spreads. Pharaoh, who has lost his own son, calls for Moses. Go, leave, take your people and go. The destroyer has done its work, efficiently, completely, without mercy, but also without cruelty. This is not torture. This is not suffering. This is death, delivered cleanly. A force of nature, like a flood, like an earthquake, impersonal, inevitable, terrible in its completeness. Now, the Assyrians. 2 Kings 19. Sennacherib, king of Assyria, has laid siege to Jerusalem. His army surrounds the city, 185,000 men, the largest military force Judah has ever faced. The city is doomed. Hezekiah prays, Isaiah prophesies, and that night the angel of the Lord goes out. One angel, 185,000 soldiers. By morning, they are all dead. The text says, when people got up the next morning, there were all the dead bodies. Dead bodies. That is all we get. No description of the killing. No battle. No screams. Just the aftermath. Imagine this. The Assyrian camp at night. Fires burning low. Sentries on watch. Most of the army sleeping. Resting before the final assault. Everything quiet. Normal. And then the angel arrives. Does the angel have a sword? The text does not say. Does the angel touch each soldier? The text does not say. Does the angel breathe death, speak death? Will death into being? We do not know. We just know that by morning, they are dead. All of them. 185,000 men. Dead in their tents. Dead at their posts. Dead without warning. Without a chance to fight back. The silence must have been profound. No clash of swords, no shouting, no sound of battle at all, just silence, deep silence. The kind of silence that comes after something vast has passed through. The fires still burning in the camp, the banners still flying, the weapons still stacked, everything in place, everything orderly, except for the complete absence of life. And then, in the morning, the Judeans wake up. They expect another day of siege, another day of waiting, another day of dread. They look out from the walls of Jerusalem, cautiously, expecting to see the army preparing to attack, expecting to see soldiers moving, equipment being readied, the final assault beginning. Instead, they see stillness, perfect stillness. The camp is quiet, too quiet, no movement, no sound, No smoke from cooking fires, no voices, nothing. Just the eerie stillness of a place that should be bustling with 185,000 men. But is not. Slowly they realize. The truth dawning on them like the sun rising over the camp. The army is dead, all of it. Every single soldier, every officer, every servant, every horse perhaps, every living thing in that camp, gone. Killed in the night, by one angel. They venture out, carefully, fearfully, and walk through the camp, past tent after tent, soldier after soldier, all dead, all at rest, as if sleeping. No signs of struggle, no signs of violence, just death, silent, complete, absolute. This is not warfare. This is a force of nature, a plague, a silent, invisible, unstoppable tide of death, moving through the camp like wind, like frost on a cold night, touching everything, leaving nothing alive. The efficiency is staggering, the completeness, the totality. One night, one angel, an entire army gone. Sennacherib, the king, wakes up to find his army dead. He flees, returns to Nineveh, and never threatens Jerusalem again. How could he? He has seen what one angel can do. This is the kind of power that makes you understand why angels say, "Do not be afraid," because this is what they are capable of. This is what they can do, when commanded, when necessary, when the time comes. They can end armies, cities, worlds, with the same ease you might snuff out a candle, not with cruelty, not with malice, just with obedience and power, vast, terrible power, applied with surgical precision, and then withdrawn, leaving only silence and the morning light and the bodies. But not all angelic violence is killing. Sometimes it is wrestling. Genesis 32. Jacob is traveling, returning home after years away. He is nervous. His brother Esau is coming to meet him with 400 men. Esau, who Jacob cheated out of his birthright. Esau, who swore to kill him. Jacob is afraid. He sends his family ahead, and he stays behind, alone by the Jabbok River, in the night. And a man wrestles with him. A man, not an angel at first, just a man. They wrestle until dawn, all night long, grappling, struggling, neither one winning, neither one giving up. This is not a quick fight. This is hours of sustained physical effort. Think about what this means. Wrestling is exhausting. 5 minutes of wrestling will leave you gasping, your lungs burning, your heart pounding. 10 minutes and your muscles are burning. Lactic acid building up. Every movement becoming harder. 30 minutes and you can barely stand. Your legs shaking, your arms heavy, your grip weakening. Jacob wrestles for hours, all night, from dusk until dawn. That is 6 hours at least, maybe more. And so does his opponent, who is strong enough to match Jacob. Hour after hour, move for move, neither one able to pin the other, neither one able to force a submission, just constant grinding effort, the sweat soaking through their clothes, the fatigue building with every minute, the growing realization that this is not a normal man. Normal men tire, normal men falter, normal men give up, but this man does not. He is still strong at hour 3, hour 4, hour 5, still matching Jacob, still holding him, still refusing to yield. As dawn approaches, the man touches Jacob's hip, just touches it. One touch, and the hip socket dislocates, instantly, audibly, painfully. Jacob is suddenly injured, crippled, but he does not let go. He holds on, and he says, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." This is audacity, or desperation, or both. Jacob is hurt. He is losing, but he refuses to give up. He turns the struggle into a negotiation. "Bless me, or I do not let go." And the man does. He gives Jacob a new name, Israel. Because you have struggled with God and with humans, and have overcome. The man is an angel, or God himself in angelic form. The text is ambiguous, but Jacob calls the place Peniel. Because I saw God face to face, and yet my life was spared. He wrestled God, or an angel of God, and survived, but not unchanged. He limps away. His hip never fully heals. For the rest of his life he walks with a limp, a permanent reminder of the night he wrestled an angel, the night he refused to let go, the night he demanded a blessing and received it, but also received a wound, because encounters with the divine are not safe. They leave marks, physical marks, psychological marks. You do not walk away unchanged. Sometimes angels appear with weapons. Numbers 22. Balaam is traveling to curse Israel. He has been hired by the king of Moab to prophesy against them. God is not pleased. Balaam is on his donkey, riding down the road, and the angel of the Lord stands in the way, with a drawn sword. Balaam does not see the angel, but the donkey does. The donkey turns off the road into a field. Balaam beats the donkey, forces it back onto the road. The angel moves to a narrow path between two walls. Vineyards on either side. No room to turn. The donkey presses against the wall, crushing Balaam's foot. Balaam beats the donkey again. The angel moves to an even narrower place. No room to pass at all. The donkey lies down, refuses to move. Balaam beats the donkey a third time, and then the donkey speaks. Actually speaks, in human language. What have I done to you to make you beat me these 3 times? This is when you know something very strange is happening. When your donkey starts arguing with you, Balaam argues back, as if this is normal, as if donkeys talk every day. And then God opens Balaam's eyes, and he sees the angel standing there, sword drawn, ready. And the angel says, "Why have you beaten your donkey these 3 times? I have come here to oppose you because your path is a reckless one before me. The donkey saw me and turned away from me these 3 times. If it had not turned away, I would certainly have killed you by now, but I would have spared it." The donkey saved Balaam's life by seeing what Balaam could not see, by refusing to walk toward death, even when beaten for it. The angel was ready to kill, sword drawn, waiting. But the donkey's stubbornness prevented it, and Balaam, humbled, continues on. But now he will speak only what God tells him to speak, not curses, blessings. The angel's presence changed everything. Without striking a blow, just by standing there, sword ready, a reminder that this is dangerous work, that opposing God's will has consequences, that sometimes mercy looks like an angel who does not strike, who gives you a chance to turn back, even if you are too blind to see the danger yourself. Sometimes angels stop violence. Genesis 22. Abraham has been commanded to sacrifice his son Isaac. This is a test, a terrible test. Abraham obeys. He takes Isaac to Mount Moriah. He builds an altar. He binds Isaac. He raises the knife. And an angel calls out, "Abraham, Abraham, here I am. Do not lay a hand on the boy. Do not do anything to him. Now I know that you fear God, because you have not withheld from me your son, your only son." The knife does not fall. Isaac is spared. A ram is provided as a substitute. The angel intervenes at the last possible second, not before Abraham raises the knife, not before Isaac is bound, at the very last moment, when Abraham has proven his willingness to obey, when the test is complete. Then, and only then, the angel speaks. This is mercy, but it is mercy that waits, mercy that watches, mercy that does not intervene too soon, because intervening too soon would invalidate the test, would prevent the proof. So the angel waits, watches Abraham raise the knife, watches him prepare to strike, and only then says, "Stop, it is enough, you have passed. Put down the knife." Sometimes the destroyer is visible. 2 Samuel 24. David orders a census. This displeases God. The reason is not entirely clear, but God is displeased, and he sends a plague. 70,000 people die. The destroying angel moves through Israel, from Dan to Beersheba, town to town, family to family. 70,000 deaths in 3 days, and then the angel appears over Jerusalem, visible, standing by the threshing floor of Araunah. David looks up and sees him, the angel, with a drawn sword, stretched out over Jerusalem, ready to strike. And David pleads, "I have sinned. I, the shepherd, have done wrong. These are but sheep. What have they done? Let your hand fall on me and my family." David takes responsibility, accepts the consequences, and God relents. The angel is told to stop, to lower the sword, to withdraw, and the plague ends. Jerusalem is spared, but 70,000 are already dead. The cost of David's sin, the cost of the census, paid by the people. This is the hardest part about the destroying angels. They do not only strike the guilty, they strike as they are commanded. And sometimes the innocent suffer, because judgment is not always precise, because consequences spread, because we are connected to each other, and one person's sin can bring death to thousands. This is not comfortable theology, but it is honest theology. The destroying angel does not explain, does not justify, does not apologize. It simply acts, as commanded, and then withdraws. Why do mercy and violence come from the same source? Why are angels both messengers of good news and dealers of death? Because God is both merciful and just, both patient and holy, both loving and righteous, and angels are God's agents. They act on God's behalf. They carry out God's will, which sometimes means announcing births, and sometimes means ending lives. The same angel who frees Peter from prison could, on another night, be the angel who moves through Egypt. The same being who speaks to Mary could be the being who stands with a drawn sword over Jerusalem. This is not a contradiction. This is completeness. Angels are not cute. They are not safe. They are not tame. They serve a God who is not cute, not safe, not tame. A God who is both slow to anger and will by no means clear the guilty. A God who is both abounding in steadfast love and visiting the iniquity of the fathers on the children. Both. Always both. And the angels, as God's agents, embody both. They are capable of great gentleness and great violence, sometimes in the same night. This is terrifying, but it is also strangely comforting, because it means that the universe has standards, has boundaries, has consequences. Evil does not go unchecked forever. Oppression does not last forever. Egypt cannot enslave Israel indefinitely. Assyria cannot destroy Jerusalem with impunity. There are destroying angels, and they act when the time comes, when patience is exhausted, when judgment is necessary. They act swiftly, silently, completely, and then they withdraw, leaving behind the silence, the stillness, the aftermath, and the survivors wondering, grateful, terrified, changed. Now, let's talk about the angels who fell, the ones who did not obey, the ones who chose rebellion, the uncomfortable ones. Now we enter the realm of theological discomfort. The angels who did not stay in heaven, the angels who rebelled, or loved, or were curious, or made a choice. The stories vary, the details shift depending on which text you read, but the core idea remains. Some angels fell, and the consequences were catastrophic. Let's start with Genesis 6, right before the flood. The text says something strange. The sons of God saw that the daughters of humans were beautiful, and they married any of them they chose. The sons of God, who are these? The text does not explain. It assumes you know, or it does not care to elaborate. The sons of God. In ancient Near Eastern context, this phrase typically means divine beings, heavenly beings, angels. They see human women, they find them beautiful, and they take them as wives. The text is matter-of-fact about this. No moral commentary, no explanation. Just, this happened. And then it says, the Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God went to the daughters of humans and had children by them. They were the heroes of old, men of renown. The Nephilim, giants, possibly, or mighty warriors, or something else. The children of angels and humans, hybrids. This is all Genesis tells us. A few verses. No details about how this happened. No details about what the Nephilim were like. No details about whether this was wrong. Just, it happened. And then the flood came and wiped almost everything out. The connection is implied but not stated. The sons of God took human wives. The Nephilim appeared. The earth became corrupt. God sent the flood. But the text leaves the details to our imagination, or to other texts. Enter the book of Enoch. Not in your Bible, at least not in most Bibles. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church includes it, but for most of Christian history, it has been considered apocryphal, extra-biblical, interesting, but not authoritative, yet massively influential. Because the book of Enoch takes those few verses in Genesis and expands them dramatically. According to Enoch, the sons of God are called the Watchers, angels assigned to watch over humanity, to observe, to report, but not to interfere. There were 200 of them, led by an angel named Semjaza, and they made a decision. They saw human women, and they desired them. But they knew this was forbidden. They knew that angels and humans were not meant to mix, so they made a pact, an oath, on Mount Hermon. All 200 of them swore together, if we are going to do this, we all do it. No one backs out. We bind ourselves together in this sin, so that no one can claim innocence, so that no one can escape the consequences alone. They swore the oath. And then they descended, left their posts in heaven, came down to earth, took human wives, and had children. The Nephilim, giants, warriors, beings who were neither fully human nor fully angelic. And the Watchers did not stop there. They taught. This is where the story becomes more than just a cautionary tale about forbidden love. This is where it becomes a story about forbidden knowledge. According to Enoch, the Watchers taught humanity things we were not ready to know. Azazel taught men to make swords and knives and shields and armor, the technology of warfare, how to kill more efficiently, how to protect yourself while doing it. Think about what this means. Before Azazel, violence was personal, intimate. You could kill someone with your hands, with a rock, with a stick. But it was difficult. It was close. You had to look them in the eye. After Azazel, violence became technical, distant. You could kill someone with a blade, from arm's length. With armor, you were protected from retaliation. You could kill without the same risk. Wars became deadlier, more organized, more devastating. Before, a battle was a brawl, chaotic, limited by exhaustion and proximity. After, a battle was a system, formations, tactics, blades that could cut through flesh easily, armor that could deflect blows. This was not just knowledge. This was a transformation of human society. Another Watcher taught metallurgy, how to mine metals from the earth, how to smelt them, how to forge them into tools, into weapons, into ornaments. Before this, humans used stone, wood, bone. natural materials, easily found, easily shaped, but limited. Metal changed everything. Metal tools were sharper, stronger, more durable. Plows could cut deeper into the earth. Agriculture became more efficient. More food could be grown. Populations could grow. But also, metal weapons were deadlier. Metal armor was stronger. Warfare became industrialized, and metal ornaments became status symbols, jewelry, crowns, the visible markers of wealth and power. Metallurgy was not evil, but it accelerated inequality. It accelerated violence. It accelerated the transformation of human society. Another watcher taught cosmetics, the art of beautifying oneself, paints for the eyes, dyes for the hair, ways to enhance beauty, to deceive, to seduce. This seems less harmful than weapons, but the text treats it as part of the same problem. The artificial enhancement of what is natural, the manipulation of appearance. Before this, beauty was what it was, natural, unaltered. After this, beauty became something you could create or fake. You could make yourself look younger, more attractive, different from what you actually were. This was deception, not malicious necessarily, but deception nonetheless, presenting a false image, and it created new anxieties. If beauty could be enhanced, then natural beauty was not enough. You had to work at it, maintain it, constantly improve it. The knowledge of cosmetics was a gift and a curse. Another watcher taught astrology, the reading of the stars, the prediction of the future, the belief that the heavens controlled destiny. This was divination, forbidden knowledge. Before this, humans looked at the stars and saw beauty, mystery, the vastness of creation. After this, humans looked at the stars and saw fate, their future written in the movements of planets, their lives controlled by cosmic forces. This was a loss of freedom, a loss of trust in divine providence. If the stars control your destiny, then your choices do not matter. You are bound by forces beyond your control. This was spiritual slavery, attempting to know what only God knows, attempting to control what only God controls. Another taught sorcery, spells, enchantments, root cutting, the manipulation of spiritual forces, the use of words and materials to bend reality. This was the ultimate forbidden knowledge, not just understanding the natural world, but attempting to manipulate the spiritual world, to command forces, to bind and loose. This was humanity overstepping its boundaries, reaching for powers it was never meant to have. Each watcher taught something, and humanity learned, and with that knowledge came power, but also corruption, because humanity was not ready for this knowledge. We did not have the wisdom to use it well. We had the knowledge of war, but not the wisdom for peace. We had the knowledge of metals, but not the restraint to use them justly. We had the knowledge of cosmetics, but not the confidence to be ourselves. We had the knowledge of astrology, but not the trust in divine providence. We had the knowledge of sorcery, but not the humility to accept our limits. The knowledge was not evil in itself, but in human hands too soon, it became a tool for corruption, for violence, for vanity, for manipulation, for control. And the earth became corrupt, filled with violence. The Nephilim, born of this forbidden union, were mighty, but also destructive. They were not fully human. They did not have human limitations. They were stronger, faster, more powerful, and they used that power to dominate, to oppress, to consume, until the earth cried out, and God responded. The punishment was swift. The watchers were bound. According to Enoch, the archangels, Michael, Raphael, Gabriel, Uriel, were sent to deal with them. They did not kill the watchers. Angels cannot die, not in the way humans die. Instead, they were imprisoned, bound. Enoch describes them being bound in the valleys of the earth, under mountains, in darkness, chained, unable to move, unable to act, unable to escape, for 70 generations, until the day of judgment. Imagine this: angels who once flew, who once moved freely through heaven and earth, now bound, motionless, in darkness, for thousands of years, conscious, aware, but powerless. This is not death. This is something worse. Eternal imprisonment, eternal awareness of what you have lost, eternal waiting for a judgment that will not come for millennia. And the Nephilim? They were destroyed in the flood, or most of them. The text is ambiguous about whether any survived. Some traditions say the Anakim, the giants that the Israelites encounter later, are descendants of Nephilim, but the main line was wiped out. The flood was, in part, a response to what the Watchers did, a reset, a cleansing, starting over with Noah and his family, humans only, no more hybrids, no more forbidden mixing. Now, Azazel. Azazel shows up in Leviticus 16, the Day of Atonement. 2 goats are brought before the high priest. Lots are cast. 1 goat is sacrificed to the Lord. Its blood atones for sin. The other goat is sent into the wilderness, to Azazel. This is the scapegoat. The high priest lays his hands on the goat's head, confesses all the sins of Israel over it, symbolically transferring the sins to the goat, and then the goat is driven into the wilderness, to Azazel, carrying the sins away. Who is Azazel? The text does not explain. It assumes you know, or it does not care to elaborate, but the implication is clear. Azazel is a being in the wilderness, a being to whom sins can be sent, a being apart from God. Later tradition, drawing on Enoch, identifies Azazel as the watcher who taught warfare, the leader of the rebellion in some versions, bound in the wilderness, in the desert, in the desolate places, and once a year the sins of Israel are sent to him, not as an offering, but as a rejection. These sins belong with you, Azazel, not with us, not with God, with you in the wilderness, in the place of desolation. This is a powerful image. Sin sent away, to the one who first brought corruption. Return to sender. Now, Satan, the adversary, the accuser, the devil. Who is Satan? The Bible gives us multiple origin stories, or rather multiple glimpses, none of them complete. In the book of Job, Satan is a member of the heavenly court. He comes before God with the other sons of God. He is the accuser, the prosecutor. His job is to test, to question, to challenge. He is not God's enemy. He is God's employee, doing a job, accusing Job, testing Job's faithfulness, but with God's permission. In the Gospels, Satan is the tempter, the one who tempts Jesus in the wilderness, the one who enters Judas, the one who sifts the disciples like wheat. He is adversarial, opposed to God's purposes, but still, apparently, limited by God's authority. In Revelation, Satan is the dragon, the ancient serpent, the one who deceived Eve in Eden, the one who wages war against God and his angels, the one who is cast down from heaven, bound for 1,000 years, and eventually thrown into the lake of fire. So which is it? Is Satan a member of the heavenly court, a fallen angel, the serpent from Eden? All of these. The texts do not fully align. They give us pieces, snapshots, but not a complete biography. Then there is Lucifer, the name everyone associates with Satan. But here is the problem. Lucifer appears exactly once in the King James Bible. Isaiah 14:12. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? This verse is part of a taunt against the king of Babylon, a human king who has fallen from power. The name Lucifer is Latin for light bearer. It translates the Hebrew phrase Helel ben Shacha. which means shining one, son of the dawn. This is a reference to the morning star, the planet Venus, which appears bright in the sky before sunrise, and then vanishes as the sun rises. The king of Babylon thought he was the morning star, brilliant, unchangeable, eternal, but he fell, just as the morning star vanishes at dawn. That is what Isaiah is saying. Not Satan fell from heaven, but the king of Babylon fell from power. Later Christian interpretation connected this verse to Satan because the imagery fit: the brightest angel, the most beautiful, falling from heaven, cast down. But that interpretation is added. It is not in the original text. Isaiah is talking about a human king, not an angel, yet the image stuck. Lucifer, the fallen angel, the light bearer who became the prince of darkness. It is powerful imagery, even if it is based on a misreading. Revelation 12 gives us another piece: a war in heaven. A dragon with 7 heads and 10 horns, sweeping a third of the stars from the sky with its tail. Michael and his angels fight against the dragon. The dragon and his angels fight back, but they lose. They are thrown down to earth. The dragon is called Satan, the ancient serpent, the deceiver of the whole world. This is the war, the rebellion, the moment when some angels chose to side with the dragon, against God, against Michael, against the heavenly order, and lost. But when did this happen? Before creation, during creation, at the fall of humanity. The text does not say, it just describes the event, as if it is happening now, or has happened, or will happen, or all three, because Revelation is apocalyptic literature. Time is fluid, symbolic. The war in heaven is both past and future, both historical and eschatological. It happened. It is happening. It will happen again, all at once. So why did these stories not make it into the canon? Why is the book of Enoch not in most Bibles? Why is the detailed story of the Watchers considered extra-biblical? Because the early church fathers were cautious. They had criteria for what counted as scripture: apostolic authorship or connection to the apostles, consistency with accepted teaching, widespread acceptance across the churches. The book of Enoch failed some of these tests. It was not written by an apostle. It was not universally accepted. Some of its theology was questionable. The idea that angels could have physical children with humans. The idea that angels taught humanity forbidden knowledge. The idea that there are beings imprisoned under mountains. These ideas were uncomfortable. They raised questions. They implied things about the nature of angels and humans and the boundaries between them. So the book was set aside. Interesting, but not authoritative. Useful for understanding context, but not for building doctrine. Yet it remained influential. Jewish writers quoted it. Early Christian writers referenced it. Jude, in the New Testament, alludes to it. So it was known. It was read. It was part of the conversation, just not part of the official canon. Why are we still obsessed with fallen angels? Why does the story of Lucifer's fall captivate us? Why do we keep returning to the idea of angels who chose rebellion? Because it is a story about choice, about freedom, about the possibility of saying no to God. The Watchers had a choice: stay in heaven, serve, obey, or descend to earth, love, teach, corrupt. They chose, and faced consequences. But they chose. Satan, in whatever form, had a choice: submit to God's authority, or rebel. He chose, and fell. But he chose. This is terrifying, because it means even beings created good, created to serve, created in the presence of God, can choose otherwise, can turn away, can fall. If angels can fall, what does that say about us? If beings who saw God face to face could rebel, what hope do we have? But it is also strangely hopeful, because it means choice is real, free will is real. Even in the presence of perfect goodness, you can choose. And if you can choose to fall, you can also choose to stand. You can choose to stay. You can choose faithfulness. The fallen angels remind us that nothing is automatic. Nothing is guaranteed. Not even for angels. Especially not for angels. And if they fell, and we are still here, still choosing, still standing, then maybe that means something. Maybe that means our choices matter. Maybe that means our faithfulness, however fragile, however imperfect, is significant. Because we too are choosing, every day, to stand or to fall, to serve or to rebel, to love or to corrupt. And the angels, both those who stand and those who fell, remind us, this is not a small thing. This is everything, now. Let's talk about all the strange angelic encounters that do not fit neatly into any category. The one-off appearances, the weird miscellany, the angels who show up once and leave us with more questions than answers. Not all angels fit into neat categories. Some appear once, deliver a message, perform a miracle, show up in a vision, and then vanish, never to be seen again. These are the one-off encounters, the strange moments that do not build into a larger pattern. The angels who defy categorization. Let's start with the burning bush. Exodus 3. Moses is tending sheep in the wilderness. He sees a bush on fire, but the bush is not consumed. It burns, but it does not burn up. Moses approaches, and a voice speaks from the bush. Take off your sandals, for the place where you are standing is holy ground. The voice identifies itself as God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. But the text also says, the angel of the Lord appeared to him in flames of fire from within the bush. So which is it, God or an angel? The text does not clarify. It uses both. The angel of the Lord, and then God, as if they are interchangeable, or as if the angel is the visible manifestation of God's presence. God does not have a body, cannot be seen directly. So when God appears, it is often through an angel. The angel of the Lord, capital A angel, not just any angel, the angel, the one who speaks with God's authority, who acts as God's presence, who is in some sense God, but also distinct from God. This is theologically complicated, and the text does not resolve it. It just presents the encounter. Moses talks to the voice from the bush. The voice gives him a mission. Go to Egypt, free my people. And Moses obeys. But the mystery remains. Was that an angel or God himself? The answer seems to be yes. Joshua 5. Joshua is outside Jericho, preparing for battle, and he looks up. There is a man standing in front of him with a drawn sword. Joshua approaches. Are you for us or for our enemies? This is a reasonable question. There is a man with a sword near the enemy city. Whose side is he on? The man answers, neither, not for Israel, not for Jericho. But as commander of the army of the Lord, I have now come. The commander of the Lord's army, an angel, a high-ranking angel, leading heavenly forces. Joshua falls face down in worship, and the angel does not stop him, which is significant because usually angels refuse worship. They say, do not worship me, I am a fellow servant. But this angel accepts Joshua's worship and says, take off your sandals, for the place where you are standing is holy. The same word spoken at the burning bush. This is not just an angel. This is the angel, the presence of God, in angelic form. And he gives Joshua instructions for the battle, how to take Jericho, march around it, 7 days, trumpets and shouting, the walls will fall. And then the angel vanishes from the narrative. He appears, he speaks, he is worshipped, and then he is gone. never mentioned again. 1 Kings 19. Elijah is running for his life. Jezebel has threatened to kill him. He flees into the wilderness, sits under a broom tree, and prays to die. I have had enough, Lord. Take my life. He lies down under the tree and falls asleep, exhausted, depressed, ready to give up. And then an angel touches him, wakes him. Get up and eat. Elijah looks around. There is bread, baked over hot coals, fresh, warm, and a jar of water, just sitting there in the wilderness where no one else is. He eats, he drinks, he lies down again, and the angel comes a second time, touches him again. Get up and eat, for the journey is too much for you. So Elijah eats and drinks and is strengthened by that food for 40 days. 40 days of travel on 2 meals, provided by an angel. Now think about this. An angel bakes bread or materializes bread. Either way, there is bread. Warm bread, fresh from the coals. Do angels bake? Do they knead dough? Do they wait for it to rise? Or does the bread simply appear, fully formed, ready to eat? The text does not say. It just says the bread is there, and Elijah eats it. What does angel bread taste like? Is it like regular bread? Flour, water, yeast, salt? Or is it different, more sustaining, more nourishing? Elijah travels for 40 days on that food. Normal bread would not last that long. Normal bread would not provide that much energy. So this is not normal bread. This is supernatural provision. Food that sustains beyond natural limits. But still, bread, physical, tactile, something Elijah can hold in his hands, taste in his mouth, chew, swallow. This is one of the strangest aspects of angelic encounters, the physicality. Angels are spiritual beings, but they interact with physical reality. They bake bread, or appear to. They provide water. They touch people. They feed them. This is domestic, mundane, strange. An angel as a caterer. An angel as a provider of basic necessities. Not glorious, not terrifying, just practical. Here, eat this. You need your strength. And then the angel leaves. Job done. Elijah fed. Nothing more to say. Daniel 3. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego are thrown into a furnace for refusing to worship Nebuchadnezzar's golden statue. The furnace is heated 7 times hotter than usual, so hot that the soldiers who throw them in are killed by the heat, just from being near the opening. The 3 men fall into the furnace, bound, expected to die immediately, but Nebuchadnezzar looks into the furnace and sees 4 men, not 3, 4, walking around, unbound, unharmed. Look, I see 4 men walking around in the fire, unbound and unharmed, and the 4th looks like a son of the gods. A 4th man, who was not thrown into the furnace, who appeared there, who walks with them in the flames. What does he look like? The text does not describe him in detail, just like a son of the gods, divine or angelic, glowing probably, though in a furnace everything glows. So maybe the 4th man glows differently, brighter, whiter, not the orange-red glow of fire, but the white-gold glow of something else, something not burning, something immune to fire. He walks with them, not leading them out, not extinguishing the flames, just walking with them, accompanying them, sharing the fire, and somehow his presence protects them. The fire does not touch them. Their clothes do not burn. Their hair is not singed. They do not even smell of smoke. The 4th man is there, and they are safe. And when Nebuchadnezzar calls them out, they emerge, alive, whole, untouched, and the 4th man is gone. He does not emerge with them. He vanishes, or stays in the fire. The text does not say. He appears, he protects, he vanishes. One encounter, one moment, one miracle, and then nothing. Daniel 6. Daniel is thrown into the lion's den for praying to God instead of to the king. The king seals the den with a stone and waits through the night, anxious, unable to eat or sleep. At dawn, he runs to the den, calls out, "Daniel, servant of the living God, has your God, whom you serve continually, been able to rescue you from the lions?" And Daniel answers, "My God sent his angel, and he shut the mouths of the lions. They have not hurt me." An angel in the lion's den all night with Daniel, shutting the lions' mouths, not killing the lions, not removing them, just shutting their mouths. How? Does the angel hold their jaws closed? Does he command them? Does he simply stand there and the lions, recognizing something greater, submit? The text does not say. It just says the angel shut their mouths, and Daniel was unharmed, not a scratch, not a bite, surrounded by hungry lions all night, and the angel kept them at bay. This is another domestic miracle, not cosmic, not world-shaking, just practical protection. An angel as a bodyguard, an angel as a lion wrangler. It is almost mundane, except it is not, because lions do not just stop being lions. They do not just ignore food in front of them, unless something makes them, and the angel made them. Somehow. Now Revelation, the book of visions, the book of angels doing very strange things. 7 angels with 7 trumpets. Each one blows their trumpet, and something terrible happens. Hail and fire mixed with blood, a mountain thrown into the sea, a star falling from heaven, poisoning the waters, the sun and moon darkened, locusts from the abyss, an army of 200 million, death and destruction with each blast. Think about the sound of these trumpets, not normal trumpets. These are trumpets that announce judgment. Each blast is a pronouncement, a declaration. This is happening now. The sound would be clear, piercing, unmistakable, not musical, not melodic, just loud, pure, cutting through everything else, silencing all other sounds. When the trumpet blows, everyone stops. Everyone listens. Everyone knows. Judgment has come. Then 7 angels with 7 bowls, pouring out plagues, sores, blood, scorching heat, darkness. The Euphrates dries up. Earthquake. Each bowl emptied, and disaster follows. Then an angel with a little scroll, standing with 1 foot on the sea and 1 foot on the land, roaring like a lion, and 7 thunders respond. But John is told not to write down what the thunders said. Some messages are not for us. Some things remain hidden. Then an angel standing in the sun, calling to the birds, inviting them to feast on the flesh of kings and generals. This is gruesome, but also symbolic. Judgment depicted as a feast for scavengers. The mighty brought low, consumed. And then there are the locusts, Revelation 9. These are not normal locusts. They have faces like humans, hair like women's hair, teeth like lions' teeth. They wear crowns of gold. They have breastplates like iron. Their wings sound like chariots rushing into battle. They have tails like scorpions, with stingers, and they torment people for 5 months. Are these angels? Are these demons? Are these symbolic creatures representing something else entirely? The text does not clarify. It just describes them, in vivid, disturbing detail, and leaves us to wonder. John 5, the pool of Bethesda, a pool in Jerusalem, surrounded by sick people, blind, lame, paralyzed, waiting for the water to be stirred, because according to tradition, an angel would come and stir the water, and whoever stepped in first after the stirring would be healed. 1 angel, 1 miracle, 1 person healed, and then nothing, until the next time. This is strange. Why only 1 person? Why not heal everyone? Why require them to compete, to be fast enough, strong enough? The text does not explain the angel's logic. It just records the belief. An angel stirs the water. Someone is healed. The rest wait, hoping for the next time. Genesis 28. Jacob's dream. He sees a ladder, or a stairway, reaching from earth to heaven, and angels are ascending and descending on it, going up, coming down, a constant flow of traffic between heaven and earth. This is one of the clearest images of angelic function. They are messengers, intermediaries. They go up to heaven. They come down to earth. They carry prayers up. They carry blessings down. They are the connection, the bridge, always moving, always traveling, never static. And Jacob wakes and says, "Surely the Lord is in this place, and I was not aware of it." The angels were there, working, moving, connecting heaven and earth, and Jacob had no idea until the dream. Why do some angels only show up once? Why do we get these brief glimpses, these one-time encounters? Perhaps because most angelic work is hidden, unseen. We only notice when something breaks the pattern, when an angel becomes visible, when a miracle is undeniable. But most of the time, angels work in the background, unnoticed, unrecognized, doing their jobs, shutting lions' mouths, stirring waters, feeding prophets, walking in fires, ascending and descending ladders, connecting heaven and earth, over and over every day, and we do not see them, unless we are supposed to, unless the moment requires it, unless God decides to pull back the curtain, just for a moment, and let us glimpse what is always there, always happening, the constant quiet work of angels. Now, let's talk about what all of this means, what angels teach us about holiness, about otherness, about the strangeness of the divine. So, what have we learned? We have met the Seraphim, with their 6 wings and their endless chant. We have met the Cherubim, with their 4 faces and their bronze skin. We have met the Ophanim, wheels covered in eyes. We have met the middle management, the cosmic bureaucracy. We have met Gabriel and Michael, the named ones. We have met the destroyers and the wrestlers. We have met the watchers who fell. And we have met all the strange, one-off angels who show up once and leave us wondering. What do they all tell us? What is the pattern? What is the lesson? Angels tell us something about holiness, about what it means to be close to God. The closer you get to God, the stranger you become. The Seraphim, who stand in God's presence, are the most alien. 6 wings, constant chanting, burning. The Cherubim, who bear the throne, are bizarre. 4 faces, bronze skin, wings that sound like rushing water. The messengers who come to earth are the most relatable. They look almost human. They speak in sentences we can understand. But even they make people fall down in terror. Holiness is not safe. Holiness is not tame. Holiness is not what we expect. And angels, as beings who exist in the presence of holiness, reflect that. They are other. They are strange. They do not fit our categories. They do not make sense. And that is exactly the point. We domesticated them. We made them safe. We turned them into Renaissance cherubs, chubby babies with tiny wings, perched on clouds, playing harps, cute, harmless, completely, utterly wrong. But we needed them to be wrong, because the real angels are too much, too strange, too frightening, too other. You cannot put a wheel covered in eyes on a church ceiling and expect people to feel comforted. You cannot paint a 4-faced creature and call it uplifting. So we soften them. Raphael and Michelangelo and all the great artists, they gave us beautiful humans with wings, serene faces, flowing robes, angels who look like they would never say "do not be afraid," because they are not afraid making. But biblical angels are. Biblical angels require that opening line, "Do not be afraid," which means the default reaction is fear. Every time. The shepherds were terrified. Mary was troubled. Zechariah was gripped with fear. The women at the tomb were alarmed. Ezekiel fell face down. Isaiah thought he was going to die. This is the pattern. Angels appear. Humans panic. Angels say, "Do not be afraid." And only then can the message be delivered. Because the fear is overwhelming, instinctive, unavoidable. Why are angels supposed to be terrifying? Because they are not us. They are not even trying to be us. They are something else entirely. They exist in a reality that operates by different rules. They glow. They have multiple faces. They are covered in eyes. They make sounds like waterfalls and armies. They can kill 185,000 soldiers in a single night. They can shut the mouths of lions. They can walk through walls. They can appear and disappear at will. This is power. Vast, incomprehensible power. And power is frightening, especially when you do not control it, especially when it appears without warning, especially when it comes from somewhere beyond your understanding. Angels are frightening because they remind us of our limits, our smallness, our fragility. We like to think we are in control. We like to think we understand how the world works. And then an angel appears, glowing, impossible, real. And all our certainty crumbles. We are not in control. We do not understand. We are standing before something infinitely greater than ourselves. And that is terrifying. But also, the angels say, "Do not be afraid." They do not say, "Be afraid." They acknowledge the fear. They validate it. You are right to be afraid. This is fearsome. But do not stay in the fear, because I am not here to hurt you. I am here to deliver a message. I am here to help. I am here on God's behalf. And God is for you, even when God is terrifying, even when God's presence is overwhelming, even when God's angels make you fall to the ground in panic. God is for you. The terror is not the point. The point is what comes after the terror. The message, the rescue, the provision, the protection. Angels are terrifying, but they are terrifying on our behalf. They destroy Assyrian armies so Jerusalem can survive. They feed prophets so they can complete their journeys. They free prisoners so they can continue their work. They announce births and resurrections. They guard the holy. They bear the throne. They connect heaven and earth. They are for us, even when they scare us, especially when they scare us, because the fear is proof that we are encountering something real, something beyond us, something that cannot be controlled or domesticated or reduced to a cute baby with wings. And yet, after all these chapters, after all these descriptions, after all this exploration, we still do not really know what angels are. Are they beings? Are they forces? Are they manifestations of God's presence? Are they individuals with personalities? Or are they more like functions, roles, extensions of divine will? The Bible does not give us a systematic angelology. It gives us glimpses, encounters, moments when the curtain is pulled back, but never the full picture. We see seraphim in Isaiah's vision, but we do not know how many there are. We see cherubim in Ezekiel's vision, but we do not know if they always look like that. We see Gabriel and Michael doing specific tasks, but we do not know what they do the rest of the time. We have categories, hierarchies, systems, but they are our systems, our attempts to organize what resists organization. The angels remain mysterious, other, beyond full comprehension. And maybe that is how it should be. Maybe the mystery is the point. Maybe we are not supposed to fully understand. Maybe the strangeness is meant to stay strange, to resist our attempts to make it make sense, to remind us that there are realities beyond our categories, powers beyond our control, beings beyond our understanding, and that is okay. We do not need to understand everything. We do not need to have all the answers. We can sit with the mystery. We can sit with the strangeness. We can let the Seraphim keep their 6 wings. We can let the Cherubim keep their 4 faces. We can let the Ophanim keep their impossible geometry. We can acknowledge that "do not be afraid" is necessary, because the fear is real, and we can trust that the message after the fear is also real. You are seen. You are known. You are not alone. There are angels, strange angels, terrifying angels, incomprehensible angels, but angels nonetheless, connecting heaven and earth, bearing messages, guarding the holy, destroying enemies, feeding prophets, shutting lions' mouths, standing in fires, walking through camps, ascending and descending ladders, always working, always moving, mostly unseen, but there, always there. And sometimes, just sometimes, we get to see them, for a moment, before they return to their work, before the curtain closes again, before the mystery deepens, and we are left wondering, and being terrified, and being comforted, all at once. Thank you for traveling through this strange landscape with me. Thank you for sitting with the discomfort. Thank you for letting the angels be as weird as they actually are. I hope you found some rest here, some peace in the strangeness, some comfort in the terror, some wonder in the mystery. Sleep well, and do not be afraid.